Hello, Gonky.
Hello, Mover. How are
I'm
you?
just happy to be here right now because I hit a button and I was like, oh, this thing's going to punt me. And it didn't punt me. So here we are.
Woo! Yeah,
Episode 43, Living on the Edge.
that's right, man. Feels
Lot of
awfully
stuff.
weird.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. Just me and you again.
I know. Feels weird for a Monday, huh?
Yeah. Speaking of Matt.
Sorry, everybody.
Was it a religious holiday? What could possibly have been so important that we could not go as scheduled?
On very rare occasion, I end up having to actually go in and fly an airplane. That's what happened. So they needed,
a large airplane.
Yeah, they needed somebody, and I was the one. So I went in and flew an airplane. So that's why I apologize. I probably could have made it back because I flew real fast, so to speak.
He does not get paid by the hour.
Well, actually, I do, but I like to fly fast. So, but in the interest of keeping my marriage together, I thought I'd come home and spend the evening with the family. But sorry, everybody. So here we are. Mostly Mondays with Mover and Gonky.
So is it classified, or can you tell us what fast is in this case?
Well, it's not supersonic.
20% less.
Yeah. Hello, Doug. How are you?
Yeah, Douglas.
I'm back.
Thank God you're back.
Best I can say.
We struggled last week.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad that you're happy that I'm back, but I'm sorry you struggled.
Yeah, we plan on struggling with all three of us tonight. So
we'll just struggle together.
It's lonely with just the two of us.
Yeah, it was weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, we went from 4 to 2.
No guest, no Doug.
That's true. Yeah, we went from Mace to just you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mover, how was your weekend?
Dude, I feel like I see you all the time now. We did the puppy thing, which was awesome. Although I didn't see you, I heard you. They were taking bets on how many times you would say dude.
I do say dude a lot. And hey, we did the really cool Fox 3 thing.
That's what I'm talking about. That is literally what I'm talking about.
Sorry. I forgot the charity was. I forgot it was Canines for Warriors. My bad.
I'm talking about the thing that we raised money for. Or they raised money. We didn't really contribute a whole lot, except for our peanut gallery, spear throwing, popcorn eating.
Yeah, they were on me. My wife could hear that whole thing, and she's like, "You do say dude a lot." I'm like, I know. I'm trying real hard. Real hard to stop. So,
once the wife has figured it out, you're in trouble.
Yeah, but that was cool. I
got warned by the ladies at my kids' daycare that I had to stop saying certain words. So you could do a lot worse.
So Luna and I went to a kindergarten Thursday because the kids had been affected by the tornado, and they were all sad and going through rough times. We brought a Luna Bell out there, and so part of my brief is, because the dog's a dog, right? Even though Luna is the best dog on the planet, I still give the, hey, don't grab her muzzle, don't mess with her face, because the last thing I want is for a kid to get bit. Like, that is my biggest fear. Like, Luna's a great dog, but any dog is capable if in the right circumstances. So I'm always like, hey, let's pet her here or whatever. And apparently you can't say she likes butt scratches in kindergarten, because we got through like the third class, and one of the teachers like, we don't say butt here. And I'm like, but really? What do you want me to say? Booty? Like, what is accept? You have kids, Gonky. What is acceptable nomenclature for the hindquarter region?
Am I mad and trying to be scary?
No, you're trying to instruct on how to scratch a dog.
I say butt.
Okay. All right. Well, so see, I wasn't wrong.
My generation was brought up. That was not a bad word. And
yeah, it's kind of gentler. 80 kids, man. 80 kids, one at a time, to come pet Luna Bell.
Wow. That's cool, though, man.
I needed therapy.
That's right.
After that.
You're like kindergarten cop when he brings a little ferret in, right?
I sent the PI. I did. I said, "Oh, look, we are all happy now." Oh. Shut up!
That was really good.
Whatever it takes.
And what does he do? Who
Yeah,
is your
exactly.
daddy? Who does he work for? Oh, I got to watch that movie again, dude. You know what I watched the other day was Chronicles of Riddick. After you and I talked about that,
I have seen it.
I knew
awesome.
for no man.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched most of A Few Good Men the other day. I forgot how
Yeah.
awesome that movie was. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have Amazon Prime?
Yes. My wife does.
So for the kids at home, Fallout's a good show.
Yeah.
You won't appreciate it, Gonky. It's probably not anything in your wheelhouse, but for everybody else, finish Fallout. Doug, you'll appreciate it. Well, oh, you watched it.
Yeah, I liked it.
Binge watched it while you were down for the count.
I'm a big Walton Goggins fan.
100%. That guy is an amazing actor. Anyway, I guess we're going to talk about stuff today. Gonky, you have actually stuff from the kids at home. I still have just in case he's watching.
There it is. That's
just
right.
In case. What do we have here?
Alec, the shirt.
I love the fact, Gonky,
I know.
Signed a Viper shirt.
I know.
Okay.
That's why I put on it Hornets Rule.
Yep. I love the fact that he trolled you into, well, let's see who else has signed it. We've got somebody said Fights On. That's the name of our show. So copyright 2000. Looks like an AC-130, Bubba. Oh, yep. Beowulf.
Yeah. There's a Fat Amy driver in there, I think.
Fat Amy driver. She didn't write Fat Amy. She just wrote F-35A. She couldn't even... She's probably like, oh, I could be flying this sexy machine right here, but instead I'm in the morbidly obese.
She didn't have what it takes, man.
Chunky fighter. Oh, she probably does. I mean, and then you got all this Hornets Rule right here. I haven't signed it yet, but I'm about to. Tomorrow is my day. So awesome, dude. It's so cool. But you have actual mail that accompanied that, and
so I mean, like. Mover and I talk about it sometimes, you know, like we've talked about the haters and whatnot, but we do get some really, really fun stuff from especially the kids, like Gonky can't handle the Viper, which is false. And then, like letters from Alec. He wrote me a 2-page letter here, and it's quite entertaining. But he had some questions on that he wanted to ask Mover and I. And I thought that we would just do it here live on the show because even for an 8-year-old kid, they're not bad questions. So, Mover, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All righty. So you can start and I'll follow. So,
okay. Is this rapid fire or like it just whatever the first thing that comes to mind, or how's this work?
He's got 4 questions here, man. So I'll just ask you the question. You answer, and then I'll
rapid fire.
I'll answer, and then we'll go. So these are Alex, or Alec. He's 8 years old.
Oh, please don't be a hard question. Please don't ask me anything about an airplane.
What
is the nose wheel gear speed?
Scientifically speaking,
did the plane take off on the treadmill?
That's right. Anyway. All right, man. So Alec wants to know, what was the dangerous time you had flying? Mover, go.
Flying with you. That time, like seriously, that time. I don't know if it's dangerous, but it was superstitious. I've told this story before. What are you drinking? Good grief.
Juice.
You always have something different. Anyway, Gonky and I go fly T-38A, which, by the way, at our old Strike Patron 204, we weren't even allowed to be in the same formation, much less the same aircraft. But we managed to be in the same jet. And of course, I refused to be in the backseat. Gonky's riding as my designated Wizzo.
Safety pilot. Continue.
Yeah, and we're doing the walk around. I'm like, hey, Gonky, you gonna put your parachute on? He's like, oh, we're not gonna need this. And I'm like, you can't say that, dude. It's such a
the thing that really set you off, because I remember, is we were at the perch getting ready to do the final turn, and I said, see, dude, nothing bad happened, and that's like the most dangerous.
To land a T-38A. Which is at any given Sunday, is life or death.
And like when you roll off the perch, right? You're pretty much out of the envelope, right?
That is where everybody's like, this is where you die. And Gonky's like, see, nothing bad happened. Golden retriever in the back. I'm like, cold Mike.
Much. Yeah.
Go ahead. What is your
well, Alec, as much as I'd like to tell you a war story and a fighter, I think probably the most dangerous time I've ever been in an airplane was in a Cessna 172 at night with my then girlfriend, now wife, and we lost one of the 4 cylinders in the engine. And that was I just had the throttle firewall. The thing was shaking violently, and we made it back to the field that we landed at with no oil in the motor. And that was, one of those times where I just felt completely helpless. I didn't have another engine, didn't have an ejection seat. I had somebody I really cared about with me, and all I could think about was, we're going to crash, she's going to die, and I'm going to live. That's literally the narrative in my head. And then the crazy thing is, it's a little bit humorous now, is, we have this traumatic experience, and like first person we call is my wife's mom to come pick us up. And she goes, "Oh, you were all right. Trevor's a fighter pilot." And I was like, "Oh, dude." I was like,
were you a fighter pilot?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Are you a fighter pilot now?
Allegedly. Yeah. So that's probably the scaredest I've ever been in a plane. But all right. Sorry.
Well, hold on now. Let's see. We're just going to do story time because we don't have a whole lot of stuff else to talk about for the show. But so I had a Glass Air, right? Like a Glass Air 1. You ever seen those side by side experimental home built? I got a pretty good deal. I was working at the squadron for doing a sim field engineer thing. It was during college, and it had everything. It was home built, so everything that could possibly go wrong on this thing had gone. Like the starter went out. It had electrical problems I was always chasing. And one day, I was coming back, and I was at the little grass strip. In fact, if anybody watches the helicopter stuff, I've actually gone to this field in the helicopter. It's called AMA. It's a little grass strip. And that's where I had it hangered because the guy was charging me, I think, $80 a month, which now that I look at that, I'm like, yeah, that's one of those. I think that might be a 2, actually. I think that's a 2.
If you talk long enough, I'll find a picture of yours.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's what she said. Wait, no. Anyway, so I'm coming back. In fact, Douglas, this was the day I flew with you.
It was. We had to take the seat out.
Yeah, I took. I had the seat out for me too. So, Doug's a large man. I'm not that short, and we flew together. We did loops to music and stuff. And I'm coming back. It's been a great flight. I'm coming back to New Orleans, and the way the gear was, if it was unsafe, it would show green and red. So it wouldn't just show red. It wouldn't just show green. It would just show green and red. So I put the gear down. I see green. I don't see the red because of the way the sun angle is. And I'm like short final. And somebody in the clubhouse just happened to have the wherewithal to say, "Aircraft on final, go around, gear up, gear up, gear up, gear up." And I just firewalled it. And I look, and the indications are like, dude, I have no training. Like, I have enough training to fly this thing, but I have no, I haven't done, I'm a college kid. I have no like stand up, bold face. I get in the book. It has a hydraulic, an oil dyne hydraulic pump. I'll never forget this. And it was hydraulically held up. So in theory, if you lost the hides, all you had to do was reach back. There was a little screw. You'd unscrew that. It would relieve the pressure, and then it would over center lock down. The nose would spring out. Well, I do that, and the right main never shows locked. Everything else, I get a locked indication, but the right main's just kind of hanging. And I'm like, what do I even do? And I'm not thinking of this as I'm going to die. I'm thinking of this as I'm going to total this aircraft, and I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm still going to owe on it. Like I'm a college kid. I bought way too much airplane in the first place. And, I was just doing it to build time and try to get some high performance time. So I go over to New Orleans Tower, and I'm like, okay, because they're right across the river. And I'm like, hey, I got this emergency. Can I pass by the tower? You guys tell me if it's down. They're like, yeah, okay. And they're like, okay, well, if you want to go here, you can go to Lakefront, whatever you want. And I said, I remember on the radio, I was like, hey, you think if I landed in the grass, it would be better? Because I'm trying to save the airplane. Like, that is 100%. And some airline guy probably saved my life because he's like, take the concrete, kid. I'll never forget. Some random, like, whatever, this is 2004, 2005. And he's like, take the concrete, kid. So I turned towards Lakefront because, MSY is like, you're not shutting down our runway, buddy.
Yeah.
So I turned towards Lakefront, and some Cessna rejoins on me. He's like, yeah, it looks partially down. Looks okay. And I'm like, oh, God, okay. Well, I'm about to die now. Like, this is where it hits me that, something's about to happen. Things aren't going to go well. So I go to Lakefront and, they do another confirmation, and now I'm running out of fuel. Like, I'm doing the math because the fuel gauge was another thing that was kind of iffy. I always based it on time, not what the fuel gauge said. And I'm like, there can't be much gas. Like, I've dug around all day. We've been doing, like, there's no way I have enough gas to be doing all this. And so I come in for the landing, and, Tower's like, you're cleared to land any runway. Good luck. And I'm like, Godspeed. Dude, I do the best landing of my life. Like, I just grease it on, and there it is right there in the $85 a month hangar with me. So I grease it on, and then I'm like, oh, things are great. And the next thing I know, I start feeling it lean.
I'm
like, because it doesn't have nose wheel steering. It's differential braking and a cast-ring nose wheel. And I'm like, oh God, hold the brake. And it folds. And I'm lucky in that I had the wherewithal to put the flaps up and kill the engine. And that's the only thing that saved a prop strike. So it went off into the grass, it kind of landed in there, and the firefighters come out and they're like, hey, that looked pretty good. You okay? Like, I don't know. Dude, I ferried that airplane home the next day. They
raised it up.
Yeah, the FAA came out, and we like affixed some like iron, some steel beams on it to keep the landing gear down. They're like, yeah, you can ferry it back. Dude, I was like, Doug, how old was I back then? Like 19, 20?
Wow.
Like, I was a young kid.
You weren't old.
Yeah.
Doug was like, nice knowing you. We'll see you.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why that made me.
Dude, I told that story to my dad, and the first words out of his mouth were, "You flew with a low-time pilot in an experimental airplane."
Yeah, Doug. Wait a minute.
I was a lot younger back then too. Yeah. Okay, sorry. There's 3 more questions.
There sure are.
My bad.
Next one's easier. Alec wants to know if you had a chance to fly a starfighter, which one and why? Like in Star Wars.
Oh, I thought you meant like
F-104.
the star. Yeah. Nobody wants to fly wing, dude. Nobody's not a thing there.
But if you were Luke,
the TIE fighter, is that an option? Dude, I don't know anything about the Star Wars.
Yeah.
Doug, help us out.
I'd fly the X-wing fighter.
That's the one.
Darth Vader TIE fighter all day.
Yeah.
TIE fighter. The Vader one. Vader's is Doug Vader's is the one with not the straight ends, right? It's got the angles.
That's it.
It's got the winglets, the spacelets, whatever they are.
The curved, well, not curved, but
which one's single seat?
They're all single seat, except
one of them you put R2D2 in it.
Yeah, but he's a robot. Nobody cares. And dude, he can fix your X-wing while you take rounds.
Oh, well then he's actually useful. He's not.
He's useful. That's correct.
Finally a use for that extra gas. Yeah,
he's
finally a use for the. Oh boy, send all hate mail to Trevor. No, sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
All right, Alec wants to know question 3. This is the easy one. Have you seen Masters of the Air?
No,
I haven't either, because I don't have what is it, Apple TV?
Yeah, I don't.
But I listened to a really cool interview that they did with a guy from that unit in World War II. He's still alive, and they were interviewing him about it and about the realism of it, and it was pretty crazy. But I would like to. Yeah, I've watched a ton of clips. Yeah.
T-Bear. So if T-Bear says it's good, he does agree. Some people have complained about the CGI, but T-Bear says it's good. If T-Bear says it's good, I'm okay. I tried to watch For All Mankind on that thing when it was free, and I just couldn't. It's just weird.
Yeah, I think the storyline and stuff in Masters of the Air is pretty well done. And then finally, this is a little bit longer. Hold on, I got to read. It says, I want to do more interviews with pilots, even like to start a channel, since I talk to so many and want to talk to more. Y'all been an inspiration to me, wanting to serve and fly. Should I? What's the question? Should I?
Sound it out, Gonky. Sound it out.
Look, dude, it's written by an 8-year-old, read by a 45-year-old man who is not very smart. I like to start a channel since I talk to so many and I want to talk to more. Y'all been an inspiration to me. That's awesome. wanting to serve and fly. Oh, should he start a channel where he interviews pilots as a kid? He might be onto something there, man.
I
Because
would
he's a
say
pretty smart
talk
kid.
to mom and dad.
100%. That's true.
I would talk to mom and dad. I would, you know what I would think would be cool if he did it privately. Because
Really?
well, here's the thing, and I've talked about this. I know he's just 8, but the internet's forever. And I think the last thing I would want to see is, because he's going places. This kid is going to be do good things in his life and his career. There's no question. Whatever he decides to do, he's going to do well. You just don't want, having seen the negative sides of social media, I just don't, you don't want to set yourself up for that ammo for later down the road.
You know what you could do, Alec, is, you know, if mom and dad approve, and they should definitely help you out with it if you decide to do it, but just turn the comments off.
A lot of the kids privately.
Well, yeah, or that. Yeah,
I would. I mean,
oh, not even broadcast it.
Not even like I would do it for your friends and family.
Yes,
I would not put it on the internet for forever as an 8-year-old. Because like if he, let's say he does it for 5 years, right? You know, let's say he's 13, 14 years old, and, you know, dude, that stuff is forever. And now it could be something great, but I don't know.
Well, Alec, I think you should still continue to go to air shows.
Hell yeah.
Continue to talk to the pilots of, all the airplanes, really, because you never know what their background is. And your dad sent me a couple videos of you talking to some Eagle guys and whatnot, and it's pretty cool. And I think at an air show, you'll always, you know, the people usually that the military sends to air shows are pretty dedicated, and they are always eager to help and, you know, answer your questions, man. So I just want to thank you for this letter. Super entertaining. I read it to Mover and about died. But yeah, man, I just want to answer your questions for you, and hopefully Mover can get your shirt back to you.
Oliver would like to say a word.
Yeah.
Sounds like he said a word. I don't know which word that is, but it sounded very vulgar and dog.
He must have said but. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he didn't like.
No.
He didn't like that. All right. Well, cool. Thanks, Alec. That's awesome. Let's catch up with the chat real quick, because there's some Laura says, "Where's Wombat? Is he mad at you guys? Did Gonky bully him?"
No, we asked him to come on today, but he couldn't make it because of
he's a working man.
He's a working man, yeah.
Much
like I couldn't make yesterday.
Right. Working men like gotta work. Thomas says, "Just saw the Manchester video of you and Gonky. Awesome. Bought Spectre Rising. Great read. Thank you.
Yes.
Please buy some books."
Mover's an author.
Yeah, please. We've been a drought here. Can you say badunkadunk? I don't know what you can say. Heine? I don't know. Garrett says, and he talked about this on the Mover Mailbag, which I finally did, which somebody gave me, Falcon 4. Oh, Gonky.
Yes, sir.
This is for you.
Oh, thanks, man. Dude, that is a huge calendar.
It's to scale.
It's to scale. The girth is real.
It's to scale. I still haven't figured out.
That's awesome.
Well, they got MiG-29. What country has Fat Amy? All right, here's your test.
Oh, gee.
What country?
Let me get Google up here.
Yeah. What country is this?
And
you would say January as Stixon.
Dude, I don't know. Those are MiG-29s though, for sure. Is that a U.S. Air Force commercial? Because I've seen them use the MiG.
It's PA. This is Air Force PA sending me a calendar in Russian. Okay, well, they have this thing too. Oh, dude, look.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, what country has all this?
Dude, I can't see.
Hold on. I'll find something else. Can you VID? Uh-oh. Can you VID this ATR?
Is that an ATR 42? Was that
probably
right? 42?
Yeah, probably. Hold on, one more. Oh,
Why you put me on the spot, man?
Because if I don't, who will?
That's definitely a Smoky Bandit right there.
Definitely a Smoky Bandit. And
AT6.
yeah. So who has all these things at one time?
Earth?
Oh, check. Douglas, you know this one.
I do. And I know the emblem too, but it's only because I have ancestors from there. I love that helicopter.
Well,
It
tell
looks
us.
mean. It looks very mean and angry.
I want to know before I put this country's calendar on my wall.
It's the Poles.
Really? They still have all the, they got the Eurofighter too?
Yep, that red and white checkerboard.
They've got F-35 and Typhoon.
Someone named
Texas.
VZ in the comments is backing me up too. The VZ is
They're
probably not a
the
coincidence.
Texas of the Europe.
The Texas of Europe. I love
Dude,
that.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, they are.
That is awesome.
Isn't that where Mace went?
Yeah.
We need her on the channel. Dude, we need Mace on the channel a lot more because she really is smarter than us.
Way smarter.
Not
She's
that
too
Doug
busy-
isn't, but
She's
she's
too busy
smart.
changing lives.
Yeah, changing other people's lives, not
He's too busy improving and changing other people's lives.
giving people now everybody's going to be bad. Anyway, the question, Garrett had said this on the Mover Mailbag. Dude, I've got serious ADD today. I know I told Mover, but last week I got accepted to the Marine OCS with an air contract. I know the Marines are the men's department of the Department of Navy, but Gonky, do you have any tips for success at officer candidate school? Thank you.
Well, OCS, Marine OCS is different, a little bit different than Navy OCS. I went through Navy OCS, which use Marine Corps drill instructors. So I would say you just have to get through your head. This is not the real Marines. Okay. Boot camp is boot camp. OCS is OCS. I think Mover even tell you went to OTS, right, Mover?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's even OTS is probably just, honestly, it's just a game, right? You get through it. And then, you enter the real
I
force.
learned more about how to BFM rules at OTS than I actually did about being an officer.
Yeah.
Like little silly rules like, oh, your laundry's not now. They don't check the dirty laundry bag. Like stupid crap like that. Did you shave this morning? Huh? One pass. That's all it was. Still got it. Still shaved.
Yeah.
It's OTS was like the George Costanza school. It's not a lie if you believe it. Like it was such a
it's 100%. It's 100% a game. I mean, I the best guy in my class who could make the bed perfect. I had to make my bed one time and I never slept in it. Right. So
that's a joke.
You figure out ways to survive. If they're punishing you, you're not going to be able to do enough push-ups. So maybe a little bit of acting.
Well, in the Air Force, you should. You're not doing that many push-ups in the Air Force. It's like two.
So these Marine Corps drill instructors, they would, you do something dumb or whatever, they'd single you out and they would just tell you to keep pushing, and they would let you break yourself, basically. So you have to play the game. So, it's kind of cooperate to graduate. Have fun with it. It's once you're done with it, you're done with it. Now, as a Marine, you'll have to go to what's the 6-month thing afterwards?
Some leadership squadron leadership. It's like it's the infantry course. It's the platoon leadership course or something like that.
I don't know. Yeah,
and that's or something.
Yeah, so you'll have to do that afterwards. But man, just have fun with it. Think of it as a game. Get through it. Do your best. And before you get there, make sure you're physically prepared, because that's one thing. If you don't have to worry about your fitness, makes life a whole lot easier.
Help your bros. Don't be a douche. Next question.
Yeah, of course.
Avgeek Joe says, Mover, did you just insult Major Beowulf, the goat of airshow pilots who flies the F-22 and F-35 and put flares out in her Panther? That was Gonky that insulted her?
I did?
You did. You said she's not good enough to fly the Viper. And I said she probably is. So first of all, Avgeek Joe, don't attribute to Mover what can easily be attributed to malicious Gonky. Who is more likely to bully?
I don't bully. I mean, there was a reason why she didn't get the Viper. I don't know.
Didn't she fly the Viper first?
I don't know, dude. I know she's the airshow pilot, but I have no idea.
You better be nice. She might be on the show one day.
I know.
Ethan says mug has straw, yet Gonky drinks straight from the mug.
It's not. Actually, Ethan, it is not a straw. It is a chopstick to mix it. So,
what are you? Are you drunk?
It's vitamin C, man.
Vitamin
it's
A,
raspberry emergency vitamin C in my
Are you
Blue
getting
Diamond
sick?
beer mug. No.
What is the thumbs up? Where did that come from? What is that? Why is there a thumb on your face? How did that happen? Douglas, what is going on?
I don't know the answer to that either, but it was kind of cool.
What?
Or Gonky, hold up your thumb again.
Wait, if I do it, does it?
I didn't hold up my thumb. I had my drink.
This may be a new feature we weren't aware of.
Yeah, it's not a bug. It's a feature. I don't know. James says, holy crap, made alive. Like I said, former ATC at MCAS Beaufort. I've done approaches there. I want to point out I'm a Marine. Greater than Air Force or Navy. :P. Love your content.
Like a smiley face thing, I think.
I know. I'm just was poor from East Kentucky. Military changed my life. Is that where Harlan County is? Eastern Kentucky.
That's what it says in the song.
Yeah.
I don't
Thank
know.
you.
That's
thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
And also thank you for your service. It's awesome. Probably did approaches with you. Avgeek Joe says, can we call F-35 the Beomobile instead of Fat Amy? We cannot.
Yeah.
And before Gonky calls them small, I think he's referring to Poland, which I think he's already called.
I've never called Poland small. No.
They will, dude.
I don't look, man. I don't refer to sizes of countries anymore. Just yeah. We're all the same. Everything's the same.
Tom Kazansky says, Tomcats.
Did
you ever get back the Manchester on Gonky? I Manchestered you today, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Manchester now is Gonky has said he will fly. He's going to stay in the Air Force forever and fly everything.
That's not the whole truth. There's no end date for my service. So I said, I'm just going to fly everything in the Air Force and then move over Manchester.
I said Manchester. Yeah.
I said, okay.
That's how Manchester works.
That's true.
Avgeek Joe says, sorry guys. And Bayo is Raptor Panther Bayo Mobile. And now we're just
Joe, you've got are you follow her around? That's kind of
listen, Gonky, don't insult our fans. We don't have many of them. We cannot afford it.
He knows a lot about her.
Anyway, hey, B-21 news, which thanks for putting all the information in the header. That's really useful. Really useful stuff, Gonky. You're just crushing it today. So news, this one's funny. So the Air Force isn't looking to buy more than 100 B-21s because it may come up with something better by the time. So they're already like, you know what? We're probably going to have something better by then. If history is our guide, we're going to have something better. They say, well, the B-21 is the future of the bomber force. Chief of Staff General Alvin told the Senate Armed Services Committee. More effective technology may appear before the B-21 production run is complete. 100 B-21s is the program of record. I think we're not going to reach that number till probably the mid-2030s and beyond. I mean, he's realistic. Yep. There are other technological advances that we'd be able to see to augment. Obviously, he's talking about the aliens. Before we commit, that as a platform will serve as the backbone of the future bomber force. Originally, the 2015 requirement was 80 to 100, and now it's at least 100. But then some have said 225 to 250, but now he's like, yep, you know what? We're going to stick with 100. He is proud of the progress. He says it's performing close to the original schedule. Milestone C approval to enter low rate production. Man, that's fast. It had its first flight in November 2023. It's announcing its low rate production. Didn't specify any terms due to its classifications. It's obviously for deep strike nuclear mission. Gonky.
Yes, sir.
We talk a lot. Well, we talk a lot, but we also talk a lot about the shortfalls of the defense contractor stuff, right? How long it takes to get something from planning phase. And this is the exception because now we don't know how long stuff was happening behind the vault. So, I mean, it looks really fast to the public because it's like, bam, here's your B-21. Here you go. So what do you think about them only wanting 100. Do we need more, or is this like a hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge? We got better stuff, so we'll see.
Yeah, I read that. I read that article, and I got the impression, kind of like you're saying, it's like it's taken years to get to this point, and the B-21 is allegedly on time and on budget, but it may be obsolete. Maybe by the time I don't want to say obsolete. There may be better stuff, right? By the time it gets online. So man.
Well, we've been kind of beating the drum on the evolving landscape of warfare in general.
Right.
A lot of things have changed in the last 2 years, even, where technologies are evolving. And look at what Ukraine has done with, they had a remote controlled Cessna that went into Russian territory and struck a infrastructure target, like a Cessna, a remote controlled, high wing, not that fast. And so when you think of it in those terms, yes, you always need bombers, and 100 is still a lot. I mean, how many B-2s are there?
Not many. But I mean, if you look at, like the B-1, originally was a high altitude, right, supersonic, really fast bomber, and then I believe it was Carter that canceled it because they're like, oh no, this thing's not, But over the course of his development, I guess they determined like it's super expensive, and guess what? In today's battlefield, it's not going to be effective. And then Reagan brought it back, but it got a lot slower, and hey, this thing now flies low as a big bomber, right? So I don't know, man. We might see something like that where the B-21, the original design, or at least that the engineers and even the Air Force wanted, it may evolve while it is being developed to adjust to the changing landscape of aerial warfare.
Well, so there's 21 B-2s, 20 or 21. So that's still 5 times as many. I mean, that's still a significant number. I think there's a little bit of.
Well, they're looking to replace the B-1 too, right?
Yes, but what I'm saying is, there's still, that's a lot of slop, because this is kind of that smaller, lighter, better version of the B-2 with new technologies, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of. They've talked about integrating it with the some of the new loyal wingman, other technologies, stuff like that, hypersonic missiles, all that stuff, all that good stuff. So I think that it's good that the chief of staff is being forward thinking and saying, because we have a tendency to put all our eggs in one basket, and we always try to fight the last war. So I think it's not a bad thing, because you and I have talked about diversification of fleets, right? It is smart to go, hey, this might not be all we need. It's still great, but we may have some other stuff that may come out that we might want to leverage or jump to or use in addition to. We're not canceling it. We're not going to put, we're not going to order 250 of them and that's it, because we've seen what happens, and we'll talk about this later, when you put all your eggs in one basket and that aircraft gets delayed and has issues and stuff like that. So in that sense, it could be very smart that they're doing this.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, just look at any modern airplane procurement or development, right? They start off with like, we want 750 Raptors, and then what we get, right? So I don't know, man. It's 100 of them is still quite a bit, but I suspect that number will change.
You think it'll go lower? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That's just my own unprofessional, salty 10% true prediction.
All right. Well, going back to the kids at home, thank you for your expert opinions on things. DG, Gonky, what are your plans for your military career? How long to retirement will you fly again, military-wise? Move or chime in if you like.
Well, my plans for my military career is to finish honorably. Thanks, Mover. I'm actually, points-wise, I've crossed the line. But I can stay in for a couple more years. And then if I end up promoting a couple more years after that, probably fast jet flying is out of the picture for me. I may have an opportunity to fly C-130s And I'm just still mulling that over with, young kids, family. I'm not super close to to where I'm, the unit I'm at now. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have to decide here relatively soon, but I don't know. I've had a Mover and I talk about this all the time. I've had a really good run, and I have nothing to be ashamed of. And flying something different and a completely different mission in the military would be really cool, and I would totally do it if I didn't have as much responsibility, as an older dad and whatnot. But yeah, I'm still mulling it over. It intrigues me. Go ahead, Mover. Hit me.
I agree with everything Gonky said. Next question.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else for that. JP says, good evening, guys. I hope all is well.
Thanks, JP.
And then IDK James, holy S, I am from Harlan County.
Look at that.
I'll be damned. Maybe we did. Was there from 2008 to 2011, handed a lot of Vipers. No, see, I went to Beaufort in 2012. When I went through the Cat Other, so we were flying approaches there. Jet scale models. That's a very specific number too, 79. Hey, Mover, can you ruin Stroker Ace for me? That sounds inappropriate.
What?
So I'm not going to say yes or no until we figure out what that is. Thomas Kozak says P-38 Lightning or P-51? P-51. Nice question. Yeah?
Yeah.
P-38.
Yeah.
P-51. Yeah. Bob says, I wonder how many drones can fit in a B-21 or missiles. That would be cool. Where are your troops? And may I go there and count them? Big Cheese says, what's the next stop for you, Gonky? Lieutenant Colonel? What would sound splendid on the subsequent resumes, or that would sound splendid on the subsequent resumes, just saying. Mover, do you have any promotion opportunities? Thank you to the three of you. Boy, do
you get the impression that that maybe work is in the chat?
Yeah, it's all the people.
Your boss,
he's got a KC-46 test patch. So this may be your boss, Gonky.
Yeah. Well,
what is the thing? I welcome any opportunities, and I'm looking forward to continue serving my country. Gonky, there was a Raptor and the nose gear collapse. Go with your data.
Oh, am I doing this one? Yeah.
Oh God.
Wasn't on my list. Yeah. So freak accident. F-22 Raptor in Japan had a nose gear collapse. So they just went over there. And there is, I don't think did you watch the video, Mover? Or is that just like a news reel?
It's a news thing. They don't have any video of it happening. It was just the picture of the Raptor off the end of the runway.
Yeah. So not the first time the nose gear has collapsed. I mean, there's really not a ton of details out since it just happened. And I don't imagine we'll hear anytime soon. But yeah, they're over there obviously doing the air-to-air thing, replacing the Eagles. And we had a nose gear collapse at when we were flying 38s against him, right? Were you there for that?
Depends on which one you're talking about. You're talking about the one where they veered off the runway, or the one where they collapsed and went off the runway? Because those are two different incidents.
Yeah. Well, were you there for either of them?
Yes.
Both? Does yes mean both?
Yes.
You weren't flying then, were you?
No, I was still there. Like I wasn't fired yet.
Yeah.
We were still flying the mighty Combat Talon.
Yeah. So I guess and of course, Mover, you did a couple of years ago, you did the whole gear incident in Fallon, right? Where the F-22 tried a high performance takeoff, retracted the gear too early.
Did do that one. Yeah.
And relanded. So there's been some F-22 gear issues, although some of that stuff, like the one in Fallon, was pilot induced. One of the ones I know for sure at Eglin was pilot induced. But, as far as gear issues, all airplanes have them. I mean, there's been Hornets with gear issues. I think even, Eagles, airliners, it happens. In fact, Mover opened the show with a gear issue. So I don't know, Mover, what do you think, man? Not a lot to report here other than an expensive jet on its nose.
What? Go back to the article, Doug. It said something about March 22. There you go. There it is right there. In March of 2022. So we weren't there. We lied.
I didn't say out there.
They actually list both of them. In March of 2022. So we were sitting at home. Made headlines when an image surfaced showing the aircraft's nose cone buried in the ground following an apparent landing gear mishap. And then March of 21, an F-22 Raptor assigned to the 325th experienced a ground mishap at Eglin despite landing safely. It had a nose gear. So, yeah, I was there for the March of 21 one, not the March of 22. But you're right. Dude, EPs are I mean, it just happens. We will wait for the Safety Investigation Board to finish, and then that will turn over to the AIB, which will be what's public, the Accident Investigation Board. And if the report comes out, which I haven't seen these reports, they used to put them on the JAG reading library, and I don't know why they stopped doing that. The transparency is not there anymore, I guess. So once that's out, we'll take a look, break it down, and go. But we're always happy that no loss of life, and it looks like the airplane, I mean, while it's substantially damaged, I'm pretty sure they're going to get that thing flying. So just sucks. You don't want to be that guy or gal arriving on a TDY in a foreign country, and that's what happens.
Even if it's a mechanical, like it's not your fault at all. It's just, it's not good. And you know, Raptor is one of those airplanes. There's not a lot of them, right? So anytime anything bad happens, it's a little bit higher risk than other airplanes.
Yep. Okay. Is that it?
That's all I got.
All right. We got some things from the people in the back front. Stroker Ace is a NASCAR film. Ooh. Oh, by the way, Tomcats.
Burt Reynolds.
Oh, is it Burt Reynolds?
Turd Ferguson.
And Lonnie Anderson.
Oh.
Cal Naughton Jr. Top Hands. Is that what you said?
Mover one, Top Hands.
Yeah, I had the Top Hands. I was the best masseuse in the squadron.
He could really grip that stick.
Oh, dude, come on, man. There's children watching, probably.
Control stick, man.
You can't be this. All right, Matt Mittens. Cool picture.
Yeah.
Take the opportunity. You went out front just like I did with fighters. You got to step back to step forward. Make it happen. Forward-thinking planning. You'll be better off and never unemployed. Gonky, I think that's to you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that, you know, do I want the, you know, not every opportunity is for me. I've realized a lot.
We saw that. Yeah. I mean, we had a whole mental health minute on it. Hey, speaking of reservists, the Israeli, so of course it's this Daily Mail, so take it for what it's worth. And I will preface this by, they made me turn off my ad blocker. I am in incognito mode. These are not my ads. So before anybody says these are movers ads, they're not.
Kids, block your eyes.
Yeah, I've tried to fix this, but well, I'm not even looking at the right article. That's your article, Doug. Those are
in
his
other news.
Those are his
in other news.
Geez, here we are. Okay. So the title was Like Top Gun Meets Star Wars. Israeli reservist pilot describes endless explosions in the skies. He shot down Iranian missiles alongside UK and US fighter jets, being back in his office sending emails by 4 p.m. Isn't that the most Air Force thing? Like, it's universal at this point that you're going to be doing emails and all kind of stuff.
Queep.
But it says an Israeli reservist pilot described the endless explosions. He was identified only as Major G. He said it was taking the projectiles out of the sky was like Top Gun meets Star Wars in an interview on Tuesday. Iran launched more than 300 missiles and drones at Israel on Saturday in response to the Israeli strike on the embassy compound in Syria on April 1st that killed 12 people, including 2 generals. As the bombs, well, not bombs, but, you know, whatever, hurtled towards Israel, the country's Air Force scrambled. They had help from the UK, which we talked about. The Eurofighter was involved, which is awesome. US, France, Jordan, and British and American fighter jets down 99%. So speaking to the Telegraph, which probably a bad idea, but I love the article, so I'm going to allow it. Look at that, dude.
Yeah.
That does look Star Wars-ish. We've talked about the exo-atmospheric intercept and how it did. But it doesn't say what he flies. But I have a feeling that this jet right here had a big part in that, because that's the Eagle Jets. That's just what the Eagle Jet does. Clears the air picture so that the players can actually play. So this is where they struck. You can see that Jordan allowed them in their airspace. Syria didn't have much of a choice. Is there any more text, or we just? Oh, here we go. Endless explosions, interceptions going on around you. Now, Gonky, I want to stop. Let's go. I can't have all these ads on for too much longer. Amazing coalition, 20 years in the Air Force. Typhoons were involved. He has 3,000 hours under his belt. So he's basically an old school reservist, which I love. And here he is shaking hands with somebody, or somebody shaking hands with him. Look at these.
Python.
What do you, yeah. Ooh.
Real nice.
Very nice. I like. He could see the missiles being blown up while flying at low altitude. There was no risk of his own plane. There's no second chance. And he said he was shooting down somewhere in the Middle East. Next day, he's back to his normal life. He's taken many missions, but none as dangerous than that. So, dude, they're not like activated. They're like, go do the mission, go back to their civilian job, go do their mission, go back. Like, that's crazy.
Right.
But that's what the drone looks like. That is an Israeli woman. And Gal Gadot Gadot is an Israeli woman as well, just in case you're wondering. And then everybody says it's right to have shown solidarity. Look at that right there. That looks like aliens attacking.
Yeah.
The commander of the Islamic Republic of Iran Air Force warned at the same event that its warplanes, including Russian-made Sukhoi 24s, were in the best state of preparedness to counter an Israeli attack. Okay. And then there's the Eagle Jet landing. Navy is carrying out some of the missions. So, Gonky, we talked about this in depth last week, but what I think is interesting is this is the first time I've seen one of the first-person reports, and it's a reservist. So I think a lot of people, I don't know, Israel, they're probably a little different, but like in America, your reservists are your experienced fighter pilots. And this guy, 3,000 hours, is one too. So when you have a conflict going on, these are the people that they may not always be like the most current version of the -1 tactics, the 3-1, but they have so much experience that it doesn't matter. They will make stuff happen. Like especially when everything falls apart. Anytime I've seen in my career, like F-16 or F-18, anytime things got non-standard, it was always the experienced, 2,000-3,000 hour fighter pilots that were just like, okay, I've seen this before. We're going to make this happen. Well, the book says this. No. We're going to do it this way. And it's just going to work. Like all the Top Gun and the weapon school stuff kind of goes out the window. And now we're just doing a pickup game. And it sounds like, I mean, dude, this is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is pretty unprecedented to have this many target, that air saturation, and have this many partners in this many places. So you're talking multiple countries working together, multiple airspaces, and 300 targets that were flying towards you. And he's right. If you don't, even though it was telegraphed, if you don't, somebody is going to die in your country. You know it. So every single one of those is important to strike. So everybody's doing their best. High risk of fratricide, high risk of a midair collision, the get well altitudes. I mean, just think of an average exercise that we do and all the get well altitudes, the block altitudes, like, hey, I'm going to stay here. Cause that's, in case for people who don't know, when we do large force exercises in training and even in real life too, but we'll set one of the first jobs of the mission commander, which, God, who is the mission commander for this? How many mission commanders did they have? One of the first jobs of the mission commander is to set all the deconfliction. Like if nothing else happens, deconfliction is the most important part because you don't want airplanes running into each other. So as the mission commander, right, Gonky? I mean, that's like you're setting them. Remember in the T-38, hey, what's the blocks? Like if you got nothing else right, what altitudes would everybody else be? So it's a massive undertaking that they did in a reasonably short amount of time. And I think, I'm just imagining myself in this position where you're seeing live explosions in the air, and you're like, okay, I hope that one, because you have to watch, have to get that battle damage assessment. So you're trying to make sure that drone died. Okay, next, target me to the next one, target me to the next one. Comm is probably at a premium, and just radar time.
Yeah. The other thing is, since they didn't just use fighters, right? They used surface to air. I mean, just the not only deconfliction not hitting one another, but shooting each other down, right? A blue on blue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean,
sure.
there's in that airspace with that many hostile targets coming at you, and like you're talking about with the stakes being high, like we have to stop these. I think it really opens up the opportunity for a blue on blue, right? Because if you have to any of these projectiles making it is unacceptable, right? So that's going to lead to a very free type ROE when it comes to weapons employment, and that's where it can get a little dangerous, man. It's and like you talked about, it's always handy having reservists who have lots of experience to draw from, who can, like you said, I like the analogy of a pickup game, because you can't, anytime anything's written, an RE, a tactic, it's like Mike Tyson says, everyone's got a plan to get punched in the face. You could write the best plan, but in actual combat, just things happen, and you need to be able to flex.
Well, they're also often, their presence is the calm in the storm, because you're hearing them on the radio. They're just sounding cool, looking cool. And just that level of experience, because I mean, imagine 100-hour, 200-hour wingman. Dude, you are overwhelmed. There is a lot going on. I mean, my first non-graded ride was in combat, and I was like, it was a lot. There's a lot to. It's a lot different when things are real than training. But the other piece too, we've talked about this, like with the balloon stuff, dude. Weapons are not 100%.
Oh no.
So you had to be perfect. And they, for the most part, 99%. I mean, they pretty much were, with some exceptions. But imagine, the flail, with a missile fail, a system fail, a radar fail, and then the risk of, I mean, they're small targets, right? How many times have you seen a missile, do something stupid? Somebody inadvertently. I mean, I've been in exercises in the T-38 with Raptors just blitzing through right in front of me. Had no idea I was there. I'm red, they're blue, and he just, screaming down. And it's like, if that kind of stuff happens in training, well, let's move back this situation, and a Raptor or somebody who doesn't know somebody else is there, and they're screaming Fox 2 just as the missile's going towards the drone that nobody, or the one random drone. Oh, I picked him up visually, I'm going after him. There is a high risk in what they did. And it's amazing that they did it with multiple countries, because we train together, but we don't train together, right? It's not a daily thing. Like, we're not out there with our British partners and our Canadian partner. We're not out there every day. Even with people who are out there every day, we make mistakes. And the fact that all these countries came together and did such a good job, I mean, it's eye-watering. It's really great.
Yeah, the coordination is pretty spectacular. I mean, it would have been cool to be part of that, just to see, how this all gels together.
Well, and AWACS did a phenomenal job. Whoever was, GCI, the control had to have been they had to be the experienced people, and they did a great job. They had to have done a great job. There's no way they didn't do a great job. But also, just think about the other external factors, comm jamming, all the different trons that are out there and all that stuff. There's so much noise, so much talking, radios. I mean, how many times have you been in a situation where you're like, hey, it's not clarity like you and I talking to each other. It's 2 different radios, 3 different radios. You're monitoring. They are busy. That night was probably some of the busiest flying they've ever done.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, we do LFEs, large force exercises, but I'd be willing to bet probably never that large. and that was a real that was a real life mission.
No,
So
dude. I mean, kudos to those pilots from every level, because you had the EW, the electronic warfare aircraft out there. Like every single player out there did their job. That was pretty good.
And I don't know, for the listeners, Mover and I look at it from an operator perspective, and that's having been in exercises like that, having been in
On combat. I mean,
combat
things get. I mean,
yeah, exactly. It's just from an operator's perspective, it was pretty incredible. The deconfliction, the ROE, the fact that at least as far as we know, no blue on blues happened.
Well, so yeah, I'll go beyond that. Not even from an operator's perspective, the fact that no civilians died is good. That little 100%. Girl got hurt by shrapnel. That's bad. Yeah. But the fact that not a single, whether intentional or not, on the Iranian side, that's argued. People have argued both sides of that. But the fact that no one died is it being telegraphed, even all that stuff. The fact that nobody died is amazing.
Yeah. Now, if we could just hold hands and be friends again.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
Gonky, we have some more questions.
I think we did.
Glenn said, just want to say thank you for participation in the Fox 3 event. We enjoyed it.
You're welcome, Glenn. It was a good time, man. Awesome.
Yeah, we had a great time. Mike says, did you see the report of the B-17 midair? I have not seen anything updated. No, but I'm from what I'm told, Mike. There is a report. So we'll have to take a look at it. I'll take a look. See what else we have. Mace stated with F-35 gear, ooh, piece of candy. I'm not sure what that means, actually.
Thanks, Ethan.
Nosing down to pick up the candy.
Oh, yeah, okay. Eric says, what was it like flying adversary against Raptors when you were in a T-38? They have almost 10 times the thrust. How did the T-38 manage? No. No, we're not. We're doing.
There's no neutral setup BFM.
No, we don't do that here. That would be a waste of everybody's time. No, we don't. That wasn't part of our job. I mean, we did, but it was like scripted for other purposes, not,
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. You got it. You're the one who can go to jail, not me.
The visual fighting that we did with Raptors was very set up, and it was always funny to me because I'd be flying the T-38 at its limit, and the Raptor IP would just be doing whatever he needed to do, like a freaking UFO, to set the picture correctly for the student to come in and do his thing. So there's, in the visual arena, the incompetence would have to be high, in addition to the luck of the T-38 pilot, for any opportunity to win. Where we would win is BVR kind of tactics. And it was fun. BVR was fun, and fighting visual was fun, even though that there's no chance.
Well, also, we're going to add that we were fighting students.
Yeah.
So, don't make this a headline somewhere, because we were at a schoolhouse teaching students who had like 2 hours in the air or 8 hours in the airplane or whatever, seeing this for the first time. We're not talking, the Elmendorf or the Hawaii or Raptors or Langley Raptors from operational side. So it's a lot different. It's a lot different than what you'd see operationally. Serious question. How does Israel prevent SAM fratricide? I mean, ROE. It's whatever the special instructions, the spends are.
Yep.
And how the air tasking order. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. The air order of battle and the deconfliction that had to happen is impressive.
Yeah, whoever is in charge of that air defense plan was pretty good.
It's Israel. So more than likely it had been planned out. Like they had a plan that they just kept updating over the years. There's no way. I don't think the whole thing came together like, hey, their drones are attacking. Send everybody. We'll figure it out.
Let's
Read
get a
from the
plan.
chat. Yeah.
Form a committee.
Yeah.
It's like, let's get a
Read from-
committee going.
BJ gives you $2. Gonky, congratulations.
Thank you.
Renee, Gonky, saw you on Casmo's show. Nice job. Could feel the emotion in your voice when you talked about the 30 targets. Must have been tough. Served your country well. What 30 targets?
Thanks, Renee. It was that was my very first actual engagement with the enemy, man, where there was all
Go
those
watch
guys.
it. Yeah, go watch it on Casmo's channel.
Yeah, I still
No
relive that
spoil.
in my head, man.
DG says, Mover, can you share what you were talking about on Mover Mailbag as far as the channel goes? Yes. So I talked about our eventual transition to one channel.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to rebrand the Ready Room into the Mover and Gonky Show. Everything will be under one umbrella. You won't have to go chase. That's starting first week of May, right? Well, I'm in Dallas. So Casmo's gonna guest host just in case this goes sideways, which it will. I'm gonna be in Dallas in a hotel room, so I hope the Wi-Fi is good enough, but I'll try. I've done it before. And we're going to try to move this into one direction. Gonky, you've got another channel that you've started. We need to get the links out.
So the Ready Room is going to move to another channel. I've already started it. I'm going to take a lot of my older videos that I created and put it on there. And this current, channel is going to be the podcast and the clips and stuff.
Yeah, you're not going to call it the Ready Room, huh? It's just going to be Gonky or TK Hartsock or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Basically, we do twice the work for half the results right now.
It's right. People get confused. So, I mean, basically for my channel, I'm going to go back to what I used to do, which is vlogs and, vlogs, movie ruins, movies, car stuff, airplane stuff, real world stuff. Some safety board breakdowns because we don't have time to do it on here. It takes too long. We've tried it.
Yeah. So DG, the important thing is if you're watching on YouTube, you just keep coming to the same place. Nothing changes.
Yeah. Nothing changes. It'll all be one-stop shopping. And hopefully we'll be able to put it on the hood of a race car one day. And
it'll be better.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make it better.
We think it's better, but we don't know. But anyway, that's the plan. Sure.
Well, while you're on the topic, is the Mailbag subscriber only now, or is it open to the whole channel?
It has been subscriber only. Anything live I do has been subscriber only. I talked about that before too, as far as what's going to happen with the subscriber stuff. I know I'm pretty sure people are going to unsubscribe, which is, I mean, that's well within their right to do so. I think members only, not subscriber only. I think what I'm going to do is pare down the amount of memberships. So just like 1 or 2, and then maybe the Mover Mailbag will go to members only, but most of the stuff will be early access to videos and then long form videos. Like if I go flying, nobody's going to watch an hour, right? But people watch, 15 to 20 minutes. So if people want to watch the long form, like when we do DCS, same thing. Nobody wants to watch the 2-hour version. They just want to watch the 20-minute highlights. So same thing. That's where I'll go. And if it doesn't work, then I'll just get rid of memberships altogether. Remember, the only reason I did memberships was because YouTube, the algorithm, for whatever reason, did not like me doing lives. When we looked at the data, we looked at the numbers, and when I started doing lives, it's just we're getting half as many views. And then when I stopped doing lives, it's just like a vertical, like it looked like a raptor taking off. It was just vertical. And then when I dumped all the lives back, it went back down. So there's something going on with that. I don't know why it doesn't affect this channel. Maybe it does, but we think keeping it in one spot will make it better. So Mike says, from what I saw, it's looking like the Airboss set up the perfect storm, making changes on the fly. Yeah, I've seen that too. Yeah. AWAC says, will we see the Mailbag go up on the channel later? I don't know. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of the other side of this coin.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Man, I'm looking old. Yeah. So Iran is going to get the Su-35, the Flanker E 4.5 gen, allegedly this week. So Iran's primary air force is, all 70s era U.S. stuff, F4s, F5s, Tomcats. and there's 24 flanker E's, which is the advanced version of the flanker, that were originally slated to go to Egypt, but there was threats that, hey, you're going to have some sanctions if you take these Russian jets. So Russia then went to Tehran, said, you want these jets in addition to, it says they're the S-400. So Iran here in the very near future is looking to get some pretty good stuff from Russia. I don't know, like avionics wise, what all is included, but 24 flanker E's, and then the S-400 for their air defense, which would be a decent bump in what they have now. So yeah, it says the S-400 can track the F-35. So that, I mean, I think that's probably what they're afraid of, right? They want something that they want, at least something that that has some sort of chance against 5th gen. Su-35 is maybe Gen 4.5. But I don't know, Mover, what do you think, man? Good move for Iran? Or I mean, really, if you're not buying it from the West, you only really have one choice here.
So I guess we'll do point counterpoint, because right after that, Iran disputes reports of first delivery of Russian Su-35 fighter jets. The officials have denied media reports about the imminent delivery of the new Sukhoi Su-35. Reports in the Iranian media that the country is to receive the latest generation are incorrect, according to the Fararu news website, referred to report by the SSN news agency. So
yeah, there was. I looked at that. I read that one too. There was like, I don't. There's way more articles saying they're getting them than they weren't. So,
well, they need them.
We'll find out.
I mean, for their own country, they need them. Do we want them to have it? No. Oh, yeah. A Su-35 is a very formidable aircraft. Like anything else, however, it depends, because you have talked about this.
Yeah.
Two things it depends. One, an aircraft is worthless without tactics. You can put the most advanced everything, and if you don't have the tactics to go with it, just like we talked about when the Navy first got the F-35, they were trying to do Super Hornet stuff with it, and they're like, oh, it doesn't work. So if you don't have the tactics, it's not going to work as well. Which I don't know that that's true. I'm just saying there's more to this than just here's some shiny new jets. The second part is we don't know what Russia is giving them avionics wise, because you have talked to this and you can talk to this. When countries have gotten this, like the Su-30, I mean, it's just a jet. Like, yeah. Where's the rest?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Who knows? I don't even know if, hey, did they already build these 24 and they're just sitting there? No idea. So I will say this, though, with the Iranians, they bought, the Tomcat in the 70s, and then the Shah fell, and, they had an entire cadre of Americans, Grumman workers over there to help maintain those airplanes with the parts and everything. And then when the Shah, when his government collapsed, everybody left, and there was, I read that there was, some sabotaging going on the way out, because, the Tomcat at the time was top of the line. Phoenix was,
right.
was, the top of the line. And I have always found it, we're told that, like, oh, they probably don't fly. But I would argue the Iranians have done a good job of keeping F-4s, F-5s, Tomcats flying. I mean, they did an entire war with Iraq with no help from the US. So they are a resourceful people. They're able to generate tactics. They're able to, their aerospace industry, at least for the older airplanes, is good enough to keep them flying. So even if Russia shortchanges them a little bit, I would argue they're probably still going to be somebody that you wouldn't want to take lightly. That's just my own observation.
Yeah, never underestimate any adversary, but I will say is when it comes to adversaries, we have nothing against the Iranian people.
Yeah, 100%.
It's their dictators, the Shah, like the government that is keeping these people down, I think is the real issue. I mean, the Iranian people are all good.
Yeah.
By and large. Yeah. And the other piece to that too is Russia is in a war where if the reports are accurate, they're losing these jets. So we've talked about different countries canceling Russian affiliation and Russian orders because they're like, well, Russia's not going to provide these jets. So I almost lean towards I'm not going to believe that they're getting them until they get them, because where are they coming from? Where are these?
Yeah, and if Russia, maybe they need them now. I don't know.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So so somebody says the Ayatollah. Well, there you go. But I guess the point being is, show me where these jets are coming from, and show me why Russia doesn't need them, and that Russia needs to fund their war. So, but you can't produce unless Russia has unlocked some secret that no one else knows about. You cannot do everything.
Right.
If America were entrenched in a war with Canada, that would be very tragic. It's a movie with John Candy. But if we were in a war with Canada, and we were constantly like meat grinder with aircraft and people and stuff like that, even to fund the war, it'd be tough to sell your frontline, like our Block 3 Super Hornets. It'd be tough to sell those and say, we're going to give them to you next week. It's just hard to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of angles, man. Could be like a proxy type scenario as well, but yeah, but hey, we'll find out.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to a couple things from the people in the back before we get into the bigger one, so to speak. John says, us members are with you guys regardless of the channel. Looking forward to the future evolution of the show. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a member. We appreciate it. And then Crazy Pete says, you're saying they're doing good for a little country? That's all Gonky.
I didn't say that. I didn't say, nope. I didn't say none of that.
Fatwa. They'll put a jihad on you too, Gonky. All right. Our next topic, dude. My Viper has been not happy with this. Actually, I'm not unhappy with it. I don't really care. But did you see this, Gonky? You read this article?
Yeah.
So the U.S. has stages dogfights with AI flown fighter jet, and of course, for the kids at home, this article is probably sufficient, and people are like, "Ooh, yeah." I, on the other hand, have questions, and I'm going to ask you, Gonky, because you're smart. But I have these questions. We'll start off. We'll set it up. So an experimental fighter jet, so to speak, has squared off against an F-16 in the first ever artificial intelligence fueled dogfight. So this is what it is. It can fly autonomously, but they didn't obviously do that. They actually had somebody in the jet monitoring it. They just let the AI do it. Note that it's very easy to VID if you're the other guy, because it's got a big old honking orange tail. So that helps whoever's fighting it. But it says it fought a Viper. And the successful... it has the X-62 Vista engage in practice aerial combat dogfighting. It stands for Variable In-Flight Simulator Aircraft. So they've taken DCS to the skies.
Yeah.
Services used to test cutting-edge aerospace technology for more than 3 decades. However, now it's time for autonomous flight. They use the AI for warfare and build airmen's trust in autonomous technology can perform safely and reliably in combat. Until now, it was mostly for like the auto GCAS, auto ground collision avoidance system, which keeps the Viper and the F-35 from crashing when occupant experiences G-induced loss of consciousness, which is good. But within visual range dogfighting, that's brand new. So it represents an important challenge case for the question of trust, said the commandant of the Air Force Test Pilot School. Inherently dangerous. But they went, today's program started by having AI agents, which is what they call the artificial intelligent, control simulated F-16s while dogfighting in computers. Those AI-operated simulated F-16s went 5 for 5 against human pilots. And I talked about this. I've done videos on it. We've had Heron on the Heron flight systems on the channel. We actually did a whole DCS tournament where Sung Ho did a dogfight. The winner actually got to fight, and he won. He actually beat the AI. So there you go. Our only hope for humanity. He's like the South Korean John Connor. But we had them on the channel. We talked about it. We interviewed them. We had a whole great event, and they talked about the learning and stuff. And it was in kind of an explain kind of scenario. And the agents had perfect situational awareness. And I'm going to talk about why that's a thing here in a second. But they had perfect situational awareness. They knew all the parameters that the other aircraft had. So it maneuvered relative to that. And it also flew the Gonky profile where it only did face shots, which an Air Force guy was like, oh, I don't know how to deal with this. So it won. They put this poor guy in the sim and he had all kind of issues. So anyway, that's how it started. And it's cool that the channel was a part of that in some ways. But in December of 2022 and 2023, they're like, we need to do flight tests and we want it to go toe to toe. So for 2 weeks, they flew against an F-16 in a variety of scenarios, which they don't say what they are, which could mean offensive BFM, where the AI agent starts in like 9,000 feet back, 6,000 feet back, 3,000 feet back, whatever, in an offensive position. They don't say if it's defensive. It sounds high aspect because they go on to say the jets flew aggressively at speeds of up to 1,200 miles per hour. And I don't know if that's closure or each one. They're a little fast if you're doing 1,200 miles an hour on your own, but a 1,200 mile an hour merge actually sounds right. And within 2,000 feet of one another, which is not that close. If, as Gonky and I will attest, usually, I mean, that might be a good like control zone or something like that. But they carried out nose to nose passes, which is high aspect basic fighter maneuvers and vertical maneuvering. And the two pilots were in Vista's cockpit. Boy, that would suck, dude. How much would that suck?
I would get sick. 100%.
How much would that suck? Because you're sitting there monitoring whatever screen while this thing's flying BFM. I mean, it sucks having somebody else fly, period. Yeah. Much less the AI that does not care about you.
Yeah, so I mean, the closest I've ever been to that is, you know, having students fly, which is like low quality AI, right? It'll make you sick, man.
So they said that the AI flown Vista performed well and tested a variety of agents with multiple different capabilities, but they declined to say how it went. We don't know who won. The purpose of the test was to demonstrate we can safely test these AI agents, and that's probably because it was controlled. Like everything a test pilot does. I remember. Hold on, is there anything else? I'll get to that in a second. But they said one might one day be long-range vision so that they can help use BFM. Could also use for the uncrewed collaborative CCAs, can autonomously fly with the Loyal Wingman program. And it's about building trust in the AI. So I have questions, Gonky. And here's the thing. So what we've seen out of this is that it was probably very scripted, and they probably, because everything test pilot related it's not Maverick, you know, going 10.2 and the thing breaks up. It's okay. Today we're going to add 5 knots, and that's your whole test. And today we're going to have 5 more knots, and it's very like structured. There's an engineer. They have flight test engineers that fly with them, stuff like that. There's regiments to it. So I would imagine this was equally regimented. Like, all right, today we'll do high aspect. We'll see if he makes the first turn. We'll see, you know, how it does when I go vertical. Does it even track? Part 2 of the question, because I remember, and I mentioned this because when the F-35 was brand new, and actually one of the first articles I wrote defending Fat Amy, if you can believe it, was when the news media got wind of the F-16 fighting Fat Amy, and Fat Amy, you know, got its ass beat. And they're like, well, see, BFM, you know, it lost engagement after engagement. It's like, dude, that they were defensive. It was literally defensive BFM sets, and it was scripted, and they were trying to test different parts of the flight regime of the F-35. It was not mono-e-mono 1v1. Now, granted, would Fat Amy beat F-16 1v1? No. It is not that good of a dogfighter. Everybody I've ever talked to is like, God, it's no. And especially on either side. Like I've got a buddy that's at Nellis right now, and he fights Fat Amy. He's like, dude, were you trying? But I digress. No Fat Amy hate right now. My point is the test stuff is very structured. And my question is, what I would assume is that the F-16s both had some level of telemetry pods, and that telemetry was being fed directly to the AI. Because otherwise, you have to develop a way for it to have human-like sensors. Because what do we have in BFM, right? You have your radar, which as soon as he's over here, no longer does much for you. You have your Mark 1 eyeballs, which is 99%. And you have your experience. You know where they're going to be. You know, Gonky and I have done DCS, and sometimes we don't even look because we're used to setting our neck. That's why to save your neck, you just have to know where they are. And when you turn your look and you just hope that they're there, because, you know, you can't watch them all the way through as you're pulling 9Gs. But for the AI to be like this Terminator style thing, it has to, you know, lose sight, lose the fight. It has to be able to know where that other aircraft is at all times and maneuver in relation to that. Otherwise, it's pointless. So something had to feed it data, which is exactly what happened when we did this with the X-plane trials with Heron Systems, that they were getting fed data. So the human fighter pilot didn't have the data. The AI fighter pilot did, and the AI fighter pilot won. Well, the human wasn't. I mean, anytime you put a human fighter pilot in a sim, they always have trouble because, you know, it's just, as Gonky will attest. But so this is a step, and I think that's why they're talking about it doesn't matter who won, because it's not a realistic, like, AI will win every single time. Well, AI is not going to have perfect sensors. Now, you might be able to develop a perfect electro-optical sensor or something that can track another object throughout the course of, you know, 9G maneuvering. You might be able to. I mean, they might already have that. I don't know. But something has to be able to solve for range, angles, and closure without the benefit of a radar, because 90% of what we do, you don't have that benefit. Because we even tell, I mean, how many times have you told a student, don't do HUD BFM? Stop trying to get the radar lock. Stop trying, you know, take the no lock shot. Because when you rely on that radar, it may work. I mean, it's good to have, but you have to be able to fight without it. So I think there's a lot of caveats to this. It's fascinating to me. And I think we're not trying to prove whether a human can out dogfight an AI or vice versa. I think we're trying to prove, can the AI learn the basics so that we can employ them in other realms? Can he be that, or can it be that loyal wingman that I need to go out and die for me, for country, for God and country? You know, let it be what goes downrange and gets killed, not the human in the seat. Gonky, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it, man. I who won or lost doesn't really matter at this point, because I think they're just collecting data, right? They're running tests. They're trying to figure this thing out. Now, do I think probably sooner than later, will they have some sort of AI drone fighter that can beat me at my peak in BFM? Probably, maybe. And I only say that because I'm not, my favorite way to fly an ILS and an airliner was the autopilot coupled, because it does it way better than I can. And that is just the reality of it. Now, that being said, there's probably up to 50% of the time where, the autopilot, which, when you're talking about commercial aviation, this is kind of old tech, but like, it's like, why is it doing that? Right. So there's not technology. The problem with technology is it does fail, because it is also created by human beings. Human beings make mistakes. Human beings don't make perfect machines. So I'm sure whenever they finally get this thing absolutely, doped out, when everything works, it's probably going to be unbeatable. But that's in a perfect world. So in this particular case, I think it was, envelope expansion. Just, hey, let's, like you said, let's see what it does here. Let's go up. Let's give it these laws and rules and see how that goes. I think it'd be a really fun program to be a part of, just to kind of see like I'm sure it's like, well, let's see what it does. And, you sit there like, I don't know. This is definitely test pilot developmental stuff, man.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It doesn't translate to headlines.
Yeah.
I think people hear, hey, AI has done this. Okay, well, how did it do? Well, that's not what we did.
Right.
We're very strict in how we do this, because we're not just wasting gas. Because if you can't repeat it, it didn't happen.
And the other thing I'll say is, anytime, like, I read a couple of these articles, and like when it comes to air, it's like, hey, how can the T-38 beat the Raptor? It's like, don't put out there that we beat a Raptor in a T-38, and it's always like, I need to talk to or at least see an article written by an actual fighter pilot who actually fought one of these things before I put any real salt into, hey, this thing can beat people or human beings. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, like you said, man, the mainstream, or not even mainstream, but just aviation journalism, they'll get bits and pieces from an article and maybe embellish it a little bit. But I think it's cool tech.
Yeah, we'll see what they do with it.
Yeah.
All right. Before we move on, I saw the comments. Matt Mittens is pissed at us. Says, I'm full of it. That's not true.
For what?
You're not on the program. He's talking about the F-35 thing. So I summarized a terrible article about the F-35 losing to the F-16, and I said that is not what happened. It was nonsense. And yet he's triggered because he's saying the exact same thing I just said. The F-35 and F-16 engagement was pre-production with limitations because fuel lines collapsed in high-G engagement. See, literally what I was just talking about how it was a scripted test thing that had nothing to do with the real world.
Right.
However, outside of test, that Amy will lose to a Viper every single time. As long as it's a clean Viper.
So Mover's talking about two totally different
two separate things. I understand that. I did a whole article about it. I understand it was pre-production and it was in flight test, and that was the whole point. The whole point was the media, or like Gonky's talking about, aviation media will take, well, it's a piece of crap, because that's what they were saying. They were saying the F-35 was a failure because it lost to an F-16 in their world, and it wasn't even a high aspect set. Like, they were limited, and it was not high aspect. So don't be so triggered, man. That's all I'm going to say. No, I'm not. Like, I don't know if English is not I am not using it for leverage against the FJSF and F-16 engagement. I'm not. I'm making a point.
Yeah, or just...
Anyway. What's next, dude? Speaking of suspending training.
T-45, yeah. Navy jet trainer fleet operations remain paused after engine mishap. The word paused bothers me. It's grounded, right? But that grounded sounds bad. So they had a T-45 engine anomaly. Thankfully, the pilot and instructor, the crew that was flying it, was able to land without issue. But so the T-45 uses the Rolls-Royce. When I flew it over 20 years ago, I'd say that was the weak link in the airplane. It sounds like they haven't fixed it. So when I was there was some tailpipe fires. There was some stuff put out saying, hey, in dynamic maneuvering, set it and forget it. If you move the throttle, you'll get engine stalls, which may lead to flame out and all kinds of the bad problems over temps. So they're still trying to figure it out. We talked about it, Mover, a couple weeks ago about how the Navy's pretty ambitious of just replacing the whole T-45 fleet in the very near future. However, I think it's a pretty aggressive plan. I think in the article it says 2026, but I don't know. It's the T-45 is kind of getting to the end of its life cycle, and the question in my mind is like the T-38, right? It's towards the end of its life cycle. It's slated to be replaced, but parts and money become an issue for keeping these things running, right? So T-38 has its own engine issues as well. So, I would kind of expect stuff like this to happen to an airframe when it gets close to the end of its service life. In addition to the fact that I'm sure the Navy is funneling money, into whatever aircraft they're going to replace it with. Mover, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm curious because I saw an article the other day about the F-50 maybe, or was it the T-7?
Oh, that right there, the KI T-50.
Yeah, they were talking about, I think I sent it to you. It was Lockheed. I think it was Lockheed. They were showing how they were doing simulated FCLPs, field carrier landing practice.
Okay, that's right.
With it, and even with the gear as it is. So,
yeah, and it survived.
Yeah, it survived. Wow. And that's the thing is like, what is the what is the end goal? Like, you have to keep people flying.
Right. Training can't stop. And I misspoke. So they're going to award the contract by 2026, but that's still, depending on the airplane they pick, that's, what's the timeline like? So, I mean, like you said, training has to keep going. They've been using the T-45 since 91 and the C model since probably the early 2000s. So it's crazy. I still think of that airplane as kind of like the newer jet trainer. I think is the TA4 and the T2 is the old trainer, but that's like super old. I don't know. I know Mover doesn't really care about Navy jets, but but similar story, different airplane with a T-38, right?
Yeah, that's the way it always works. Yeah. No, sorry, Gonky. I got
Luna Cam.
She showed up.
Mace isn't here, dude.
Yeah. Two in a row since then.
That's right. We're gonna have her back on just to final nail in the coffin.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Now it's like a running joke. Gonky.
Yes, sir.
Did you know that there was a Ukraine downed a Tu-22?
I did
And
not.
This one's not
2 minutes.
alleged. This is not alleged because there's actual video, and I'll show you the video first.
It's not
And then we can
DCS.
talk about the article. It does not look DCS like, but it could be.
Is it from this conflict? Oh,
It's fairly new, so they're saying it's maybe distressing. You might find it distressing, Gonky, but here you go. It was. I mean, that's, as a pilot, that is horrific.
yeah, that sucks.
I mean,
Pretty sure they have ejection seats in that thing, though.
in the Tu-22,
Pretty sure, yeah.
did they use it?
Dude, I don't know. Let's hope so. Let me see. Wow.
Yeah.
Does
Russia claims it's a technical malfunction, which
that's tail blown off
along the lines of everything else Russia's done, right? Whatever, they will never admit that something gets shot down. It's always we shot ourselves down, or it's a technical thing. But
yeah, I mean, it's a.
So anyway, the article was here. It is with the Tu-60, so it's obviously smaller than the Tu-60. This is from the Victory Day parades. It was on April 19th. They had launched an attack, and the two pilots ejected. So
Okay.
Vladimir says two pilots ejected from the aircraft. One pilot was allegedly killed. Another crew member is missing. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed that the crash occurred due to a technical malfunction while returning to its base airfield after completing a combat mission. Ukrainian Air Force said for the first time, the anti-aircraft missile units of the Ukrainian Air Force, in cooperation with Ukraine's main director of intelligence, destroyed a Tu-22 M3 long-range strategic bomber, the carrier of the Kh-22 cruise missiles, with Russian terrorists used to attack peaceful Ukrainian cities. So they said it was the same means that were previously used to shoot down the Russian A-50 long-range detection and control aircraft. Source from the military intelligence told the Kyiv Independent that the plane had been shot down by a Soviet-era S-200, which is much older.
Yep.
They also reported downing two of the Kh-22 cruise missiles. So you've got two stories, as always. In reality, you always have three sides to every story. But there's video evidence, and then there's wreckage evidence. And I believe the open source intelligence folks have corroborated the fact that the Tu-22 was shut down. It's interesting. I don't know of many mechanical failures that would cause that, other than rapid unscheduled disassembly when a missile hits your airplane.
Yeah, I think the only thing that's factual is for sure an airplane was lost. It does look like it was damaged. How did it get damaged? I don't know.
No, you got shot down, dude. I think this is pretty clear cut.
Yeah, it looks like, to me, it looks like there's some pieces missing. I mean, the thing's in a flat spin, not headed out to sea, right? It's going straight down. And it's on fire, like in the tail. So I don't know. Yeah. This one to me looks like it got shot down. Who shot it down? How it got shot down? Did it shoot down itself? No clue. But it became disassembled.
I'll give Ukraine this one. I mean, they've got a lot of surface to air missile tech.
Yeah, totally capable of taking one of these things down.
Yeah. Gonky, we got a couple more comments. Did you say that? You say that name.
Just call him D.
Fahugogad says, "Hey guys, what is more impressive, a pilot's ability to withstand the crushing forces of gravity or the crushing forces of military bureaucracy?" The problem with the crushing forces of the military bureaucracy is you have two options: escape or join the Borg. You either avoid the problem or become the problem, and there's no in between. Unless you're Gonky, in which case they lose track of you.
Dang it, Mover. I'm giving you the signal.
Kiss me. What's he saying? Nate, Alex said, "Thank you for answering his questions and signing the shirt." He also asked if you like the books. Gonky, I didn't get the book. No, I can't answer that.
Hold on, Alec. Next time I see Mover at drill, I'm gonna take his book. But I love it. That's gonna
be a while from now.
I actually had that book when I was a kid. It's awesome.
What is it? Now I'm curious. What is the book that Gonky would have had as a child?
It's a book of fighters.
You're not a learned man.
No, but I look at pictures. It has good pictures.
Okay. All right. Moving on to our next topic. Thanks, Alec. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're gonna go places. I know it. Make them tell you no.
Come on, Mover. Sign his shirt. Kid wants his shirt already.
Hey, is a near miss a hit? You wrote this. So an airliner near miss. Does this mean they hit?
They almost did. So there was two. Which one is this one? Oh, this is the JetBlue and Southwest. I guess we can. Will it play?
Roll it.
Yeah. How long is it, Doug? It's like 3. Is it 3 minutes?
3 minutes.
I don't know.
Tell me where you want to jump to.
Yeah. No. Jump up to where the JetBlue there takes runway 4.
1554, watch star runway 4, line from wait till lands runway 1.
About there?
Yeah. So they tell JetBlue to line up and wait.
Traffic pulls off your right. Wind calm, runway 4, cleared for takeoff.
So they cleared JetBlue for takeoff. And then the Southwest jet there on the north side, they clear him to cross at the same time.
Blue Street 5226, left turn at November behind the Embraer, ground point 7.
Left turn November behind Embraer, ground point 7, Blue Street 5226.
Stop. Southwest 2937, stop. We stopped. We were cleared to cross runway 4.
And we stopped at Blue 1654.
Yeah, so that's common units, Mover.
Runway 1, clear for takeoff.
Runway 1, clear for takeoff, Southwest 2830.
Yeah, Doug, you can pause it.
1550.
Yeah, so that's basically it. So they cleared JetBlue on hold, and then they cleared him for takeoff at the same time. They also cleared Southwest to cross runway 4. And then obviously, we just heard everybody in the background as what just happened came to light, start yelling and screaming. And thankfully, they were able to, get both airplanes stopped. So I don't know how fast the JetBlue airplane was going when they initiated the abort. Sorry, go ahead, dude.
I wonder if they saw it.
Well, that's just it. So, on takeoff, there's a little spiel you do, some things you push and whatnot. And obviously before the takeoff roll, I always look down the runway, but as far as other comm is concerned, like, I don't know if you would hear it in this case here. Obviously JetBlue I don't know if they heard the chatter in the background, initiated the abort, or no kidding, like you said, the pilot monitoring or flying looked up and said, "Hey, dude, that guy's crossing the the runway."
Well, did we hear it? So I guess did we hear the clear to cross? I might have missed it. Did we?
Yeah, we didn't. They cleared them. They cleared
'Cause
Southwest across.
It's a male controller and then a female controller, two different, which is not unusual. Usually, you got like a supervisor that's standing there, so you could hear the whoever's working the tower position, and then the supervisor, if she turns away or whatever, is doing something else. But my question is, from what I remember, it's been a while since I've done airline flying, and it's been even longer since I've done DCA. But typically, active runways like this, tower owns. So all crossing, the only time ground will cross you across a runway is if the runway is not active at the time, right? Because they'll give you, hey, Alpha Bravo cross runway 23, whatever.
Right.
And then you contact tower. So if that's the case, then this is one controller, unless they have, I don't think DCA does split freaks they might. I mean,
I've never been to DCA.
A lot of it's just been a while since I've done it, because I've flown out of here. DCA is always, it's like a little mini LaGuardia, dude. You've got so many little airplanes, and people are coming in on the river visual, and they're trying to get stopped.
Busy.
Like there's just a lot going on. So obviously it's a human factors nightmare, and this is what this is. This is human factors, but dude, it's scary.
Yeah, and there's like a day later, there's another one, Swiss Air at JFK. Yeah, it's on. Doug, did the link not make it?
Oh, he's got it.
I've got it. What?
Yeah.
One of us pushed the button. The other one's pushing the button again.
Yeah. So this one here. So there's going on at the same time on two different frequencies, and basically they clear the Swiss Air to take off. And then after they give him takeoff clearance, they clear 3 other airplanes to cross the active runway. It's pretty wild. And because, obviously if you're a silent...
Takeoff is 17 kilo heavy.
Cross 4 left Yankee Alpha.
Cross 4 left Yankee Alpha, American 2246.
752, cross 4 left to Foxtrot.
Cross 4 left Fox.
Delta 420, cross 4 left to Golf, left Alpha, I'm on the ground.
Cross the Gulf, 4 left to Gulf, left off Alpha on the ground, Delta 420.
Okay, 752, left Alpha, I'm on the ground.
Left Alpha on the ground.
Delta 29 Heavy, no delay, please.
Remove it, Delta 29 Heavy.
Oh boy.
Kilo heavy.
Right.
Takeoff, traffic on the runway.
Oh
yeah.
boy.
420, no delay, please.
Oh, dude, all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've never...
on the runway, exit on 31 left.
So Doug, you can pause it. Thanks, Doug. So the Swiss Air, they get off on 31 left there, and then they end up running some numbers and doing intersection takeoff, and they go on their merry way. But I just think it's pretty astounding. I mean, they were working split freak.
Dude, yeah.
I've never been to JFK. I know it's super busy, but it's wild that they cleared the Swiss Air heavy jet for takeoff. I don't know what it was, and then literally just like 4 other airplanes to cross the runway. What's your, I don't even know. That's wild.
Yeah, I've been to JFK. No, the only time you would clear is, dude, they're because all this tech has been built, and I think JFK has the new lighting system too. Most major airports do too, but dude, it's not just voice, it's visual. So, when there's an aircraft on the runway, the lights will turn red, they'll start flashing at you to keep you, just as a visual reminder not to cross. And even some places, the actual runway lights for the aircraft taken off. So because what they'll do is, in this situation, what they'll do is they'll say, whatever, Swiss Air, whoever it was, line up and wait. And you'll line up and wait, and everything will turn red. And that will, that's like your last reminder to do not firewall this. And then because they'll tell you, line up and wait, we're crossing X from this. They'll let you know where they're doing it. And then they'll cross them, then it'll turn, the lights will change color and stuff like that. So what bothers me about this is human factors. And we're talking about this so much. And I don't know if it's because of like the folks at Vass Aviation, like they're just on top of it. And so we're seeing every single incident because we have spotters and this has always been going on, or if we are like
I don't think
tempting
it's been
fate
Yeah.
because the Swiss cheese is like slowly lining up, and eventually we're not going to be as lucky and we're going to be talking about something bad.
I don't think stuff like this is common. I think it's very uncommon to have two of these incidents like in the same week, basically. And I don't know, Mover. I mean, typically like at JFK, the weather could be 0-0 out, but they can see everybody, right? Because you got your transponder on, right? But I don't know like what, the controllers, I don't know what they can see. And, you talked about all the safety measures that are in play to keep this from happening. And, hey, kudos to the Swiss Air guys who, super cool, calm on the radio. Hey, we're going to port. There's a bunch of airplanes in our way.
First rule, man. You got to sound cool.
Yeah, and they did. And they, they taxied off, did whatever they had to do, regroup and went on their way. But to me, on both, in both the scenarios, I mean, it's clear to see what happened. I would just like to know how did the Swiss cheese align on this one? Like where was the breakdown, because you definitely don't want this to, I think the Southwest and the JetBlue guys got within like 300 feet.
Dude, that's crazy.
That's pretty close.
So follow me for this for a second. Southwest fly 737s. Does not matter what the cause was. If those two airplanes ran into each other, companies are going like it is the DC-10 all over, because the DC-10, even stuff that wasn't DC-10 related, just once it gets that, and I think we're already in today's world,
the Death Cruiser 10.
Yeah, we're in a place where it's going to take one real bad mishap again, and that's scary.
Yeah, it's scary. I'll be really interested to see kind of like
Yeah.
What the fallout is like, hey, what happened here? Because I mean, right, as a person who operates these kind of airplanes, you kind of want to know, because then you can throw that into your little experience bucket as, hey, we better watch out for this.
Well, always clear, don't just pay lip service to, finals clear left, clear right, I mean,
yeah, I know.
Sure, you're actually
doing it.
Yeah. But as I say, but for the grace of God, go I, it's anybody, that's the thing with human factors. It just takes one mistake.
Yep.
And then the Swiss cheese model, everything starts lining up. So moving on, I know this is going to shock you, Gonky, but
why are you picking on Fat Amy, man? First you said the Viper killed it. Now
I know. So there was supposed to be a technology refresh 3 used for training flights, but it won't be ready for combat till 2025. They said in their earnings calls. Of all the places that you hear about this, right? And that just, I don't know. Is that the commentary here that we're doing earnings calls? I say no, because more than likely the DoD got the call first before this is months. Like DoD's known this for a while, but they said that they're focused fully on implementing TR3, a set of upgrades to the software and hardware, including better displays, computer memory, and contracting power. What is contracting power?
Dude, I don't know.
But it's already a year overdue, and it's not likely to be ready until at least the third quarter of 2024. They're still building F-35s intended to have the TR3, and I think that was part of the issue with some of the foreign sales, because they were waiting for the TR3. So obviously they've had issues. I mean, we've had chip issues. We've had all the supply chain issues. The F-35 has had delays and cancellations for as long as I've known about it. But pressure is mounting to get them ready, with multiple lawmakers expressing dissatisfaction with the delays. There's also a factor in the Air Force's decision to trim the purchases from in 2025 from 48 to 42. So 6 jets, half a Navy squadron, really. I mean,
true.
We've been in this meeting coming back year after year, and every time kicking the can down the road. It's always something new. You need to understand the frustration. They said a significant of those jets are built, except for the insertion of TR3, are parked at Lockheed Martin facilities awaiting delivery. So they said the truncated software will lack combat capabilities at first. Some of them, not all of them. First realistic chance of getting F-35 delivered with a partial version of TR-3 will be in July. Some think August, September, October, November, December might be more realistic. And this comes on the heels of Congress. And we didn't make this a topic, but we don't know kind of what the context was, but we saw the congressional hearings where they're like, this bag of whatever it was $90,000.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it was and bushings. It was a bag of bushings. It was like, this bag of bushings, $90,000. And then, only 30% of F-35s are operationally ready. And it's like, well, where do you get that number? Because from what I understand, the F-35 is a very reliable maintenance-wise aircraft. Like the FMC rates, the rates that we use to gauge that, are actually pretty high and comparable to the F-16. So I don't know where they got that number, and that's why we kind of didn't want to talk about it. But the only reason I bring that up is because this is kind of another example of people wanting answers. And when the pressure is on, when you've been highlighted like that, I think every little delay now going forward, and rightfully so, we have put all our eggs in this basket and it needs to work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Mover. The problem is it's the history of the history of the development of the airplane has been tarnished. And so like anytime anything comes out like this, it's like, yeah, it's the F-35. What of course it's delayed, over budget, or doesn't work, or you know what I'm saying? Like, which is probably not fair.
Yeah.
But that's why it's getting there. That's why it's, it gets you got the politician there with the bag of bolts, right? Or the bag of bushings. I mean,
yeah. Well, and again, I go back to the, what we're just talking about with mishaps and stuff, and whether the perception is reality phenomenon, which I hate that term. I think it's stupid, but in some ways it's true, because just think if in the 80s, it did get some press. It was called the lawn dart, but if everything was known in the viral social media scape that we have of the F-16, like people like never would have seen the light of day.
yeah.
I think people don't understand that it takes time for software and hardware upgrades to evolve, and that what we have is still very capable. So what's been fielded, those F-35s are good. They're just not the upgraded F-35s. The TR-3 is not there yet, and it's just taken a little bit longer, which, bad on the contractor for not fulfilling their obligation, but that doesn't mean that the F-35 is suddenly not a worthy aircraft.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they'll get it figured out. It'll make it into the CAF, and then we'll wait for the next update.
Yeah. Hold on. This was actually relevant. Ambo says even real fighter jets are in early access. DCS jet. Hi guys, I read a tuned down TR4 will be made, so Amy's in storage, can be delivered. By the way, I say dude a lot too, Gonky. I think it's a dirt biker thing. Yeah, I don't know. Can you skip 3 and go to 4? It's just an upgrade. I mean, whatever. I don't know. And then Renee says, flying still the safest way to travel? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. It is by far.
Gonky, speaking of not so safe things, we just wanted to touch on, we're not going to break it down, but actually there have been 2 helo crashes. One was 2 days ago, Japan doing anti-submarine stuff. And then in the country that you're very fond of and spent a lot of time up as well. Yeah,
both these helicopter incidents were naval types. So I think Japan operates a version of the Seahawk, and then the Malaysian Navy has it's basically an Augusta Westland, right? AW139, and the second helicopter. So the Japan accident was 1 helo. The Malaysian one was a collision between 2. And then I don't know. Do you know what a Fennec M502 is, Mover? It's a Eurocopter. So basically those were the 2 that collided in Malaysia. So that would be the Japanese Navy, which is a version of the SH-60 Seahawk the U.S. Navy uses. And I don't I don't know a lot of the details about that, but I mean, anytime you're flying, flying out over the water,
Yeah.
I
Sorry, go ahead.
during my time in the Navy, I had a couple people that I knew from flight school that actually crashed and died in helicopters. So I mean, just because they're, I don't know, flying out over the sea, featureless terrain, especially if it's hazy or if it's nighttime, flying into the water is a real thing. I don't know if for the Japanese accident, if they had a mechanical. For the Malaysian crash, they had a midair. There's video. There's video out there of it, and unfortunately, 10 people perished in that accident. And yeah, it's just thoughts and prayers to all their family and friends. And it's just sad that has to happen, because man, it's all fun and games till people start getting hurt.
Yeah, they're very different mishaps. I mean, obviously, we don't know what caused the Japanese one, which I think there were survivors in that one, weren't there?
Yeah, I think so.
That's one dead, 7 injured, or something like that. It's at the top. 8 crew member, yeah, one person. So, they're still searching. So no, I mean, obviously that's probably not going to go well. Unfortunately, that's usually how it works when it's out to sea. But one's very different than the other. The one that happened in Malaysia could happen to anything that's flying with other aircraft. We would just, in fact, someone was just bringing up the mishap with the B-17 and the fighter that ran into him.
Yeah,
their collisions happen. We talked about that with the Israel-Iranian strike. All the deconfliction and stuff. They're lucky, airplanes didn't run together. It was good the way they planned it. Sometimes that just happens. And what sucks is if you look at the pictures, those poor girls that were just out there on a joyride, hey, you want to come fly the helicopter? And
yeah,
that's just tough.
And hey, I misspoke that the Japanese, they did lose 2 helos.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, so that's not good.
So then they're very similar. I mean, it could be, we don't know. I mean, and you're right, Gonky. It doesn't matter. At this point, it's the footage is horrific of the Malaysian. Obviously, we're not going to show that, and especially imagine being the families and seeing that.
No,
because this was like an event. This was like some kind of That's just
They were doing some sort of exhibition, and it went wrong. And there was, I mean, there's nothing other to say other than it's just terrible, and hopefully we can just learn from it.
But for the grace of God, go I.
Yeah.
We do have a voicemail before we get to the mental health minute. I know we thought we didn't have enough to talk about. Now all of a sudden here we are. Are you ready, Gonky?
Yes, sir.
This is from Dan, Viper Dan.
Dan.
Not only that, but I was able to see.
God.
Well,
how do we start it from the beginning?
12 that day.
I'll start something. There we go. Okay.
Hey, Mover. Hey, Gonky. Diesel Dan here from across the border up in the north. Kind of a two-parter for you guys. First off, in September 2022, the London, Ontario Air Show, I was able to fulfill my childhood dream of seeing a Viper in the flesh. Not only that, but I was able to see 12 that day, 6 statics and the Thunderbirds flying. The coolest part for me and one of the most memorable was that 2 of the statics were actually from the Makos. Now, they say never to meet your idols and whatnot, but I'm here to tell you that the Viper to me is like Margot Robbie for you, Mover. It's one hell of a bird. My question to you is, what are some of your childhood dreams that you were able to fulfill? And the second one, just for you, Mover, is the Viper is the jet that got me interested in aviation at a young age. So I want you to take this time to reminisce about the best fighter ever made and to speak about some of your fondest memories of the jet. Thanks, guys. Stay safe. Cheers from this Canadian fella.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a lot. I was going to say Margot Robbie is not a bird, but she was in Birds of Prey, so I guess she is a bird. Man, reminiscing about the Viper, dude. What I loved about the F-16 was that it was like an Iron Man suit, and anybody will tell you that, especially those of us that needed the seat all the way down to get the fist between the, the canopy. So, you wouldn't hit your noggin when you tried to jump out, but you're snug, but it's not claustrophobic or anything like that. You just feel like you're wearing it. And as you get used to the sensitivity, the pressure of the stick, you start to feel like your mind is one with the aircraft. Like you will where the aircraft goes, and it just it listens to you. It knows what you're thinking, and next thing you know, you're doing that. It was awesome having almost 30,000 pounds of thrust in an aircraft that weighs about 22,000 pounds clean. I mean, dude, it would accelerate. If you were clean burner, went straight up, it would it would accelerate in the vertical. I mean, it was just a cool aircraft in that regard, high performance. In the same regard, especially when I flew it before ATAGs, and even ATAGs today, I mean, never underestimate that jet. It'll hurt you. It'll hurt you. It'll kill you. It's not, and it'll do it fast. I lost a friend, from that very thing, after his third set of basic fighter maneuvers, and it got tired and just got a little bit behind on his G strain. And next thing you know, it's not, he's not fighting anymore. And that was terrible, but it was a reminder to everybody across the community that it was an airplane that would bite you, and it was an airplane that you had to take seriously. I've got, the neck and back injuries from that jet to prove, how hard it is on your body. But that said, it was just an ergonomic aircraft, everything, all the sensors, when I went from the Viper to the Hornet, one of the things I noticed is like, there's so much, off push button, maybe I just didn't know how to do it right, but there was so much like pushing buttons and stuff versus the Viper where almost everything was HOTAS. Every now and then you do something in the ICP, but for the most part, you're running everything just kind of sitting in your lazy boy. So I think the original design of that was a great aircraft. It's well more advanced than for its time. And the fact that it has lasted 40 years and they're still building Block 70s is pretty damn cool. It's still a very relevant thing. And, for me, the coolest part anytime was taking the jet cross country, because that's where I think you had alone time. You had one-on-one time where you weren't missionized, because in the Air Force, more so than the Navy, every ounce of fuel felt like it was some kind of training. Every time you took off, you were with somebody, you were doing something. We didn't do like we did in the Navy, the 1V0s and stuff like that. Very rare. Like one time I think I did in my entire career. But when you went cross country, that's where you were alone with the aircraft. And that's where you kind of figured out, what it could do. The different, you'd go into the sub modes and look at the different avionics and actually just kind of explore with just some seat time. And being able to share that with, my family. I did a static display at Acadiana. I've talked about this on like one of the first episodes we did. To me was like one of the coolest things I've done, because being able to come up initial, land, do a low approach, and then take off on the unrestricted climb when I left. That was to me the highlight, because my dad was always my hero. And I wanted to be him when I was a kid, he would take me to drill, and he was in the Army. And for me to be able to come back and be like, look, I'm, 25 years old. Here's the F-16, which by the way, was after my first deployment, was pretty cool. So I think that was kind of what was awesome about it. But in general, it's a great airplane, and it's a magic carpet, man. You don't see there's no rails. There's, you're sitting high, everything's behind you. You're on the nose of a bullet. Gonky, what's your coolest non-Viper related story?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on it. The coolest thing I've ever done is like showing my parents I made it.
Yeah.
Maybe not made it, but I'm not a total failure. And like throughout my career, there was things that happened, like if you listen to the thing I did with Casmo, just graduating OCS, the day of, I learned that, hey, you're medically qualified, you're going to flight school, right? My parents were there. That was awesome. When I got my wings, right? Or even before that, when I selected jets, I literally called my dad on like his emergency work phone number, like never call this number unless you're hospital. Like I literally called him, and, had his boss go get him off the floor. He's a jet mechanic at an airline that's no longer with us. And to tell him that and hear his excitement. When I got winged, my parents came out, my dad put my wings on me, and he was in the Navy in Vietnam, and, he worked on fighters in Vietnam. And then, to actually bring an airplane home, kind of like you talked about, just for them to see. And of course, like, all the cousins, everybody comes out. Right. And that's the cool thing for me. It's almost like just an opportunity to give back and to show people that, like, I wasn't a total failure. And to see my parents' reaction to that, right? They were, my mom was always like, "Oh, these pictures that fell out of my purse. My son's a jet pilot," So that for me, that was the coolest thing, is being able to do something. Because, when you're a kid growing up, like, you never do anything for your parents, right? Like, it's always like take and receive mode, take and receive. It gets worse when, you're in college. It seems like, even though I was working, my parents would help me. And then it was kind of the something big I could bring back to them that I knew they'd be super proud of. And, my pop is, my mom is, even though I'm most likely done flying those planes today, but that's, for me, that's the coolest thing I've done.
Yeah. And, just going back to the Viper part, because he asked specifically about the F-16, I think one of the coolest things is just the feeling of pride you had flying it. I mean, I'd sit in EOR, I'd look down, I'd see 3 jets, and I'd be like, dude, I'm leading 3 jets out, pretend like we're going to war. And I'm at the tip of the spear right now. And, I think there's no sweeter words than picture clean when you're on an upgrade ride. And
depends.
Well, right. So, it was funny because around this time, I'm one of those dudes that doesn't appreciate things as they're happening. I'm always trying to look at the next thing. And I think if I ever look back and say, hey, that's a regret, I think that's probably one of them, because you don't know that what is it? Andy Bernard says, you don't know the good times are there until they're gone. And
Cinderella said that.
I'm pretty sure Andrew Bernard said it, but okay. Michael Scott says you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But I mean, dude, now being older, you look back and you think, you're like, dude, I was a 26-year-old, 27-year-old. The United States government trusted me with this $40-50 million aircraft. 3 other people trusted me to lead them. And then 12 other people trusted me to, run this event where they would come attack my target and I would defend it. And I briefed it. I, planned it, and then I executed it. And at the end of the day, I say there's no better words than picture clean, because, dude, that meant you won. When the vol's over and there's no more bad guys and your target's still standing, I don't remember ever a time in my life more than flying the F-16 when I'd go to bed feeling like I did something. Like, I would sleep sound because my body was tired, my mind was tired, and I was like, I did something, and it was that time in my life flying that airplane where it was just that sense of accomplishment, even if I just did BFM, because I was like, man, I pulled 9 Gs today and I didn't die, because that's it's a survival thing. You're doing that, and then going to combat and seeing kind of the effects that you have in real time, I think is a pretty big thing. And you don't really realize it until after the fact. Youth is wasted on the young. But dude, that's always going to be my first love. That jet, I love flying the Hornet, but that jet will always be, the one I look back and go, man, wish I could do it one more time.
Yeah, it's a cool jet, dude. I would look, man, 4th gen fighters have good lines. I like them all. I'm shallow.
Yeah. Lucy, you got some splaining to do, says Mover Sierra Hotel. I will cash app you the Keyboard G says Mover said the F-35 the 35 is good. We all heard it. Said it's not as bad as they say. I don't know. Brent with a Hornet in his thing says, I'll take the legendary Hornet any day. And Joe says, I learned Gonky's backstory from the Casmo show.
Yeah, it's fun. That was fun.
Hey, Gonky,
Yes.
you know what?
Yes, sir.
You get to run the mental health minute today.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Just
I will
begin.
start it. I am nowhere near
You
as
don't
well.
get to say whatever Mover just said.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna say.
Mover. I tell you what, Mover and Doug will come in and clean up all the gibberish that I put out. So because the mental health minute is definitely Mover's forte, but Jared sent me. So one of the fans of the channel sent me an email, and he said, "Hey, because last week, right, we didn't have a mental health minute. We were like, we don't have anything." So he sent me an email saying, "Hey, a buddy of mine, his son was injured in a motorcycle accident and he's paralyzed. How do you, from a mental health perspective, how do you handle unwanted permanent outcomes?" That's pretty drastic, right? A physical injury that disables you. But I was thinking about this today because I knew you were going to have me talk first. I was like, how do I want to run this? And honestly, man, there's no way I like when I think about roadblocks in my life. So that's essentially what, if you break it down, that's what it is. Roadblocks, headwinds in your life. Like, how do you handle this? Things that you don't have a lot of control over. And I can't talk about it without looking through the lens of Christianity in my case, or in a spiritual manner. So whether you're a Christian, a Buddhist, if you believe in a higher power, I think that, like in the case of this poor kid here, who's hurt himself on a motorcycle and probably has a permanent injury that might even keep him in a wheelchair. I mean, we had Wags kind of talk a little bit about this a couple months ago. He was injured pole vaulting, and he overcame it, and he has gone on to do great things, right, in DCS and whatnot. So I look at things like this, like things that happened to me. My aviation standpoint, my fighter flying days abruptly ended, right? Something that happened outside of my control. I refused to go on a mandate, right? So, and my fighter flying career was taken from me. That is my perspective of it. Well, looking at it the way I do, a higher power, anytime something like this happens that I just can't explain, it makes me angry. Why? I'm a good person. Why does this happen to me? I always look at it as, if you're a spiritual person or a Christian, to think that a divine power knows more than I know, right? It's kind of like with my kids. Like, I'll discipline my kids or make bad things happen for my kids because I love them, because I know, squash this now, you'll be better later. That type of mentality. So that's how I handle situations like this. That's the only way I know how to handle it. I know, my church, my pastor, he talks about stuff like this. But then also, the second piece is, and I touched on a little bit with, in Wags's case, but, when life's not really about what happens to you, it's how you react to it. So, in this, I race motorcycles. So, this email I got from Jared kind of hit home, because me and my son, we ride motorcycles every week. We ride dirt bikes, and I've crashed a lot. One of the heroes of my sport, David Bailey, he crashed and was paralyzed at the peak of his career. Well, you've got two options. You can curl up in a ball and go down a pit of despair. And that's where, Mover, you always like to say, call somebody, don't make a temporary problem, don't make a permanent solution out of a temporary problem, right? But in this case, David Bailey, he became a triathlete. He did great things, a broadcaster for the sport of motocross and supercross on TV. So he went on to do great things because he chose to continue on with his life. So, you can choose what your future is going to look like. Now, is it going to be identical to what it was before? I don't know. It depends on what you're, what is the headwind you're fighting. But, try not to let, try to remember, it's how you react to what's happening to you is almost just as important, or I'd even argue more important than what is actually happening to you. What do you think, Mover?
I agree with everything you said. So, dude, I'm listening to you, and so many things run through my head, right? Because I think about some of the stuff that happened in my career, Some stuff completely out of my control. You know, I went to VFA 204 and it didn't go as well as I had hoped. I mean, within a year, my dad died, and that was one of the reasons I even went. And that put me in a pretty dark place because, you know, my dad was my best friend. I called him 2 or 3 times a day, every day, you know, when I didn't see him. And that was a tough loss for me. And not too long after that, about 3 years or 2 years, is when I was diagnosed with autosomal polycystic kidney disease. And I'll never forget sitting there in the flight docks like, you may never fly again. And not only you might not fly again, but you might have an aneurysm. You know, you might be dying. And that hit me hard because my mom died like that. She was 44. And so I thought for sure, you know, that's my timer was up, you know, whatever had happened. And it took a while to come to terms with that. And then 7 months later, I got my medical back and I got to go fly. But unfortunately, NAMI and BUPERS are not the same. And NAMI said you could go fly, but BUPERS said you can't be in a deployable squadron, you know, and the nephrologist is like, what do you mean it's stage 1? You know, it's not going to advance that fast. And they're like, no, just in case he deploys, he doesn't have medical treatment facilities. And they're like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But the result was you're out, you're done. You know, you've got until the fiscal year to go find another job. And luckily for me, I'd gotten an airline job and I struggled with it. I struggled with the acceptance. And I think that from the theme for me is acceptance, because, you know, that happened. And then I got to T-38s, and then we had Hurricane Michael, and we didn't know what was going to happen, you know, whether we were going to stick with it, go back. You know, they were promising us all F-35s, and that didn't happen. They were promising us all whatever jet you want, and that didn't happen. And then at the very end, when I finally found a place to go, it was taken. I mean, it was straight up. Like, I had the 1288 in hand, ready to go. And not only did I not get the 1288, but my career was almost ended that day. Like, absolutely, by one maniac. One tyrant had decided that he didn't like me. And so that was tough. That was probably tougher than the kidney thing, because the kidney thing, dude, that's out of your control. But the other stuff was, you felt like you're being attacked. You felt like, you know, the world was coming down on you. And I think when things like that happen, the tendency is to make one of two choices. You either become the victim or you become the hero. And when you choose to become the victim, nothing matters anymore. And you sometimes you waver between both of them, because if you accept that victim's path, you will think that it doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't matter what happens, I'm not going to win. And at the final outcome of all of it will be, I'm going to keep losing. Woe is me. Feel sorry for me. Hope somebody takes pity on me and makes this a thing. The other path, I loosely call it the hero's path. I mean, it's everybody's writing a story. And if you are the main character of your story, you're not going to accept the end. You're not going to accept it just dying like that. So you fight, and then you find other purpose. And sometimes, I watched a great video the other day. It was about acceptance. And sometimes you're not going to win in the traditional sense. I didn't. I mean, I'm sitting here today. I'll never fly a fighter again. You know, nobody will hire me. That path is over. However, there are other paths that have opened themselves, and there are other means that I can go and continue to win. And the acceptance is sitting in your scenario and going, I can't fix that. I cannot change it. I cannot, this thing happened. It didn't happen to me. It just happened. So I'm not going to be the victim here. I'm going to accept that it happened. And now I'm going to analyze what the options are, because as soon as you accept it, you stop thinking of it as it happened to me, I need to feel sorry for myself. You just look at it just like we do in a jet. When you've got engine fire right, you don't suddenly go, oh, woe is me, this jet hates me. You go, okay, what's the bolt? Unless you're Phoenix, and then you just start pressing all the buttons in Top Gun. But you don't sit there and think of yourself as the victim when that happens. You think, what's the bold face? What's the checklist? Where's my nearest divert? How do you start forward thinking? And as long as you keep moving forward, it will work out. No matter what it is, as long as you accept that it is what it is, and I am now looking at options on how to move on from this. And sometimes it's not going to be pleasant. It's not going to be what you thought it was going to be. It's not going to be fun, but the outcomes can be so much greater, because if that hadn't happened, Luna and I would not have touched the lives we've touched. This show would not have been out for, 43 episodes. There's so much good that came from it that it's hard to say selfishly, well, I wish, I'd have gotten that F-35 or I'd gotten that, MH-139 or whatever it was, but then I wouldn't have done all this.
Yep.
And I think in any scenario, just like you were talking about Wags, look at the good he's done. Look at the good he's done with the community of flight simulation to bring the love of aviation to people that maybe not have the access. And now he's sharing it with the world. That's pretty awesome. So it sucks. No one said it's going to be easy, but if you just look at it as I have to accept what I can't control and then focus on the variables that I can, because you can't control what other people think. You can't control how other people are going to react to you, but you can control how you react to them, and you can control how you think. That's the only things you have within your control. It's all internal. So the way to do that is good group of friends, reach out to somebody, talk to somebody, use counseling. I've talked about the resources you have available, 988, military family counseling. If you're in the military One Source, the VA, there's all kinds of programs out there. Don't try to fight it alone, but just realize that it may not be what you thought, but it may still work out. It will work out. You just have to reorient yourself. It's when you're fighting, if you stand on the train tracks, the train's going to hit you. They always talk about that in law enforcement. You're fighting somebody with a knife to get off the train tracks. Don't stand where they're just going to stab you. But if you move, find cover, find concealment, move to the next thing. As long as you're moving, you're alive. It's when you stop that things get bad.
Yep.
Douglas?
I've been really lucky to never have any unwanted permanent outcomes, so I have no experience about this. Just kidding.
I was going to say,
wow, it's
cool.
Great. Doug's a golden retriever now.
Oh, cool. What kind of golden retriever are you?
Right? I felt like I had to one up Gonky on that. Something that kind of I was hearing while both of y'all were talking was, for me, this might not be the way that everybody thinks of it, but to me that represents grace. It's all about being in a situation that you may not have chosen or may not be. You might not even know it yet, right? You might not even know that it's a permanent outcome yet, but dealing with it gracefully. And for me, that usually means looking to other people. Gonky, I can see how it would mean looking to a higher power, but oftentimes for me, the higher power is represented, in people in my life, and not in terms of comparing to myself and saying, well, I want to be as good as them, but just looking at other people and saying, wow, they've dealt with some really awful stuff and they've come through it. That probably means I can too. Maybe I'll use some of their strategies, or maybe I'll just use them as inspiration. And you guys named, Wags is a great example. And it might be somebody you don't even know. It might be somebody very close to you, but to look for that grace and try to emulate it.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Well, Mover, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm spent.
Yeah, we got a couple of comments.
Yeah. Nathan says, Alex said touching the Viper and the Hornet gave him goosebumps.
Awesome.
Oh, that might be the hydrazine. You might have had a hydrazine leak.
Yeah, get that kid checked out.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Not service related. Just kidding. Yeah, if you smell ammonia and you get the goosebumps, see a doctor. Ambo says, your angle of attack, the way you see yourself and your place in the world has to shift. If you can't change your approach, you will constantly be defining yourself by the way you used to be. It's the Letterman jacket, right? People, that was my biggest thing when I first started flying the airlines. There was a time period, 2016 to 2018, where, the Hornet was gone, and I was kicking and screaming when I left that. I didn't want to leave. And I did not know if the Air Force Reserve thing was going to work out, because they were like, well, you need a new waiver for your kidneys. We don't think we'll take you. You got to scroll, all this stuff. And so I was flying these airliners, and it's so funny because when I first started in training, I called T-Bear and I'm like, man, this is awesome. I'm not even going to go try to fly in the Air Force because this is so much better. And T-Bear's like, there's no mission. It's stupid. And I'm like, no, it's fine. And then you get out there, and I just remember talking to captains who were like in their 60s, late 50s, whatever, and they had this great career flying fighters, and now they were doing this. And here I was, 33, 34 years old going, well, son of a, I still, no, I don't want to, I don't want to, I still got more. Like, I don't want to be the airline guy. I want to be the fighter pilot. Who am I? What's my purpose? And I didn't accept it. And that was the problem, because it made me sad. It made me sad because I did not accept where I was. And I could not be happy where I was. That made me chase something that really was not good for me. I could argue that there's a lot that came out of that experience with the T-38 that, I'd probably rather have never done. But it's the accepting where you are. Now, round 2, where I once again know that it's never going to happen, I feel like I'm doing a little bit better, but that's because I found purpose. I found my boldface. I found those emergency procedures that keep me moving forward in terms that I don't necessarily like right now. So I agree. It's the way you see yourself and the way you see your world, and it cannot be defined by others, because if you let others define who you are, then you'll never really understand who you are. Okay, Gonky, good job. You're doing great.
Yeah, dude.
Thomas says, I love it when you leave me on awkward silences. I just love it.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Really appreciate that. Thomas says, improvise, adapt, overcome. I love you guys. Thank you. We love you too, Thomas, in a very platonic way. Bob says, sorry things haven't worked out as planned, but I'm glad you guys are here. You're doing a lot of good.
Thanks, Bob.
I hope so. My grandpa fought in the Battle of the Bulge. He always told me to focus on what you have, don't dwell on what you don't have. My grandpa fought in the Battle of the Bulge too.
That's amazing.
Got stabbed by a Nazi. Shot him. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm serious, dude.
I didn't know that, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. I never met him. He died before I was born, but my dad always told the story. He had the knife. He kept the knife that the Nazi stabbed him with.
Do you still have it?
No, I don't know what happened to it.
Oh, dude.
Davey says, I'm a student naval aviator with a 4-month downtime from the T6 for a heart issue. It's hard to see my friends go through it without me. I have hope that I will join them after recovering. It's important not to give up.
Yeah,
Keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Charles is just checking in. Thanks, Charles.
Thanks, Charles.
Well, what do we got, Gonky? 2.5 hours. I think that's enough.
Yeah,
enough damage for one day.
Yeah, we were like, man, we don't really have a whole lot, and then here we are.
I think it'll be better when we finally consolidate, because we won't be trying to get all these topics in and timelines, because then it's just whatever it ends up. It's a little bit more golden retriever and less Belgian Malinois.
Well, we'll try to make it better, and I mean, dude, right? We're constantly maneuvering.
Kate says, love you guys. This infusion of wisdom and perspective is right on time. Image of a headwind helps me orient to accept, consider course correction. That's what Noonan always says, fly into the wind. He's got a whole book about it.
It's a good book too. Yeah. After you buy Mover's book, you should buy that one too. So
I was not in the book, so
it's good.
With that knowledge, what you will. Are you in the book?
No. No.
Nathan says, this is just for me. I worked in the railroad industry for over 25 years. I changed shop thinking it'd be better, but it wasn't what I wanted. As for you, gentlemen, you guys are an inspiration for the people. I thought that was going to be a lot more inspirational than it was, but
thanks, Nathan. Appreciate it.
You just grow where you're planted. Make the best of it. Laura says, did Luna go to bed?
Yep.
Yes. Guaranteed she is laying on my bed right now, wondering where her nighttime snacko is and why I'm still up right now.
She's being patient and you're being late.
Pretty much.
So Charles, I'm not going to put his name up here, although I think he just did. He says, any discussion on why IFF is so hard to get? So, hold on. As if summoned.
Oh, dude.
So there was a question about, IFF for somebody who didn't go through IFF going to being a fighter pilot. And I said, well, some units will shy away from that because it's just hard to find schools. And it's not because they don't want people. It's just because when they are looking at rated boards and they can go, well, I only have 2 slots and one requires IFF, which is another step they have to go through. It's not impossible. It's just, did you have anybody that was, because what they did I remember when I was in IFF, we had a guy that was like his unit was converting. And so when I was in IFF, there was a guy that was like, he had to go get qualified to land the T-38. And then he went to IFF. So they put him through like a 5-ride thing. Did they ever have any of those guys at Randolph when you were there? Any heavy guys going to IFF?
No, not that I saw. There may have been, but I didn't see him.
It's just rare. That's the thing. It's rare. And the T-38 is having issues across the board. And the IFF flies the T-38. So production is just tough. And I think it's less of, like I said in my reply, make them tell you no. Like if a unit likes you enough, they will figure it out. If you go to a squadron and they love you and they have to have you and, hanging out, they'll just figure it out. Horse trades happen all the time. It's just the default answer is going to be, this is not likely, but that doesn't mean you can't change that, which I encourage you to do.
Yep.
We got that one already. Super sticker. Hello, Victoria.
Thank you.
Yep. Never make your life based on what others are trying to do to you, unless they have a knife. Got no choice there. Car bomb says hi as well.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. All right, man. Luna has made it clear. Star of the show here is, hey, Luna. She's not even looking. Like you see her, you can tell what a dog is thinking by their body language.
Oh yeah,
and she is facing the door. She's not mad. She's just disappointed. So
okay,
she has shown up. She faced me. She got my attention, and now it's her body language is straight up. She's looking at the door because that's where bedtime is.
Yeah, she can't spell it out for you, so this is as close as it gets.
She thinks she's spelling it out.
I know.
She's like, what
can
else
read
do I
it.
need to do, human?
I can read it.
Yeah. All right, Doug.
Sir, I just got a slice. I just got a slice of fresh sourdough.
Oh, must be
So
nice.
I have no time for you guys at all.
Yeah. What do we got? Can we end this thing?
Man, I think she's a
that's
wrap.
All right.
43 is in the books.
All right. Well, 44 will be the last of the mover
style.
channel, and then it'll be rebranded for 45.
Yeah, same place. If you're watching on YouTube,
don't delete any bookmarks for love. I mean, we still need you.
yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, it's the same. Nothing will change.
Don't make us regret this.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank y'all. And Douglas, dude, thanks for
yeah, Doug, thanks, man.
overcoming and
No problem.
being
It
with
was
us
actually
again.
it was good for me. Got my mind off things.
Good.
Hell yeah. See? Acceptance.
Yep.
Move forward. Keep moving. All right. Well,
All right.
that's all I got. Good night.
We'll see everybody. Good night.
Bye.
Push the big red button.